Okay. Whoop. Okay.
First of all, you're supposed to do this on both channels, Bob.
I don't have that access now. Going to just the bare bones basic free plan, I don't have that access. Now, maybe if the bunch I'm working with to be the paid caregiver gives me, enough of a raise,
that's the
we
whole
can get that
point
back
of
on.
this is I'm behind in my channel work. Well, now everybody gets to hear how pissed off I am.
Well, then you
because I can't do enough streams and videos as is with all the bullshit that's happening in this freaking world right now.
The stream on your channel button there?
No. Because I'm an admin. I have to do it by adding an extra.
Shit. Yeah, because I don't have that right now.
Come on.
Oh, well.
I'm hormonal and I'm on hormones, so
let's get on to
let's insult the idiots who think they understand how to make track.
Yeah, well, thankfully they're on the way out. Okay, because all indications
you can't enjoy mocking them on the way.
I know. Obviously, mock away. But apparently, no, Kurtzman's not getting another contract. That's pretty much made clear. The current plans are the guys who did the D&D movie recently with Chris Pine,
which I have not watched because I don't have time.
I've heard it's good though. I've
heard a lot of other people's opinions, but I don't really trust other people's opinions, even people I like. So
yeah,
if I get a chance to watch it, we'll see how I feel about it.
Yeah, apparently they really blew the marketing on that one. That's the main thing. But apparently it's actually pretty good. I've heard different things. Even Critical Drinker think, hey, it's not bad. And he hates everything.
Here, let me just throw the ponytail sideways and look like I Dream of Jeannie style.
But they're talking a reset, not a reboot. The plan is that it's going to be around the time of season 3 of Picard, but will not reference season 3 of Picard. That point in the timeline, though, but not, as in post Voyager, that sort of thing, leading into the early 25th century. But it's going to be mainline Star Trek timeline, and they've said no. It has to be very adherent to that. Screw Kurtzman Trek. Ignore it all you want. Please contradict everything.
Well, I mean, I think you could have cut that off as simply as screw Kurtzman.
Yeah.
And it would have been fine.
That would imply some intimate contact I don't want to get into. But the plan right now is it's going to be back to one timeline. Keep the mirror universe on the side there, but that's for occasional. But otherwise, it's back to what we know, what makes sense. And it's said to be unconnected to previous stuff. Okay, as in no carry-ons or So it's going to be all new characters in this movie. I think the movie, I think, is going to be the jumping off point to, okay, now we're back to business. Now, at that point, maybe we'll see the Star Trek United pitch with, Sussman and Bakula.
Mm-hmm. I put a small tirade in private chat for something still entertainment-based, but not, we got to go further before we go off track.
Oh, okay.
So just something to think about with this whole rant about how stupid these studios can be. Thank God
we're
getting rid of Kurtzman.
Okay, yeah.
Thank God we're getting rid of freaking Kurtzman, at least. It's like one thing that a studio's done that's right.
Mm-hmm.
One freaking thing.
Well,
I just want to rant about what I put in private chat before.
Well, the head of the studio is actually a Star Trek fan, and he's had prior experience with Kurtzman with the last 2 movies. Was not good.
I have a phrase for a Kurtzman, but I think it would get our channel in trouble to say it.
The window licker phrase apply there?
No, that one. It works well with his name. I mean,
yeah. Well, they usually go with Klutzman, but yeah.
Yeah, but mine's more insulting and degrading.
Yeah.
Well, you talk about people who do the like state acronyms to insult the state.
Yeah.
They do like
let's just say it's a phrase that frequently happens when I'm doing a Fortnite stream. Okay,
they try to like really make these like cutesy little insults to states as rejected states mottos involving the letters of the state, and they have the whole thing about Iowa saying that they're idiots. That no, Iowa one they claim is I ought to win around, stuff like that. I have a different version of that. Imbeciles orally wanking anuses. Now, am I nice? No.
Yeah. Alrighty. Oh, another. Apparently, judge has awarded custody of the 3-foot Enterprise model back to Rod Roddenberry. It's finally going home.
That should not have taken as much work to get that ruled as it did.
It's been sitting at Heritage Auctions the whole time because
that was a given that belonged to that family. It never should have been in dispute.
California law is a little weird though, with when you do stuff like buy a storage unit, which is what these guys did. Whatever's in there, you can't be legally liable for it being stolen. Or
you can't be legally liable for it being stolen, but you're still supposed to return things if you find out they're stolen merchandise.
Yeah, and that's what the judge. No, you don't get the model guide. Let's see. It was a guy.
So there's a difference between saying let's not say that this person did anything wrong by buying a storage unit, because we all know you have no control. There's things, if you know people who actually flip storage units and stuff, a lot of them have to spend a lot of time with the police because they have to report criminal things they find in them, illegal weapons, drugs, other stuff all the time. This is not rare.
Yeah.
So finding stolen merchandise or jewelry that was taken from an estate sale or stuff like that is not uncommon in these places. I know people who flip storage units for a living, and they're on first name basis with most of the police force. So it's not that simple. Yeah. And you can't blame them for it, but I do blame them for the fact that they fought the idea of giving it back to the family when they found out it was stolen goods. It was a complicated game because Heritage Auctions did some slightly skeezy things because they knew what these guys came in with. The guys who found it's like the guys who got it thought, oh, it's a model. They didn't know the history here of just what. So they knew all they knew is a handmade model. Hey, it's got to be worth some bucks. And then Heritage, oh shit, we know what this is, and they kind of do. Okay, here you only get like we'll pay pay this, and then they weren't. And then they got a hold of Rod. Hey, we found your model. I'm absolutely blaming the storage company overall for most of it, and the whole situation of the people who stole it. However, I do have problems with the fact that the people who bought the storage unit were really not very cooperative on trying to give it back to the family that it was stolen from. That's a problem. Even if they said, well, look, we paid money to get this unit. We're losing money on this. Can we get a little reimbursement or something? I think even Rod would have understood that. Well, that's one thing that Jim at Trek Roll said. These pay them the finder's fee that was offered for finding this model. At least do that much, and try and get this thing over and done with. I'm not going to sit here and say that Rod handled it perfectly either while he was fighting this battle. He didn't. Yeah. He reacted too emotionally to things when the other people weren't trying to spite him. And I understand why he did. I absolutely understand why he did, because this is a part of his family history. It was stolen from his father. It's a part of his childhood. It's so important in so many reasons. And these people were reactionary and not giving him his family stuff. I can see why he was emotional. Yeah. I don't think he handled it well, but I can see why both sides were having the emotions they were having and feeling overwhelmed. But it should not have been a question if somebody came to you and went, look, we have the information on what this is. This was stolen from my father who passed away. Yeah. It should not have been a question to say, oh shit, that's really horrible. We can get you that. Can we get a little reimbursement for the money we put into getting it? Yeah. And that should have been that simple on both sides. That's not a nice statement to make there. I get it, but that's also, this isn't just a stack of money. No. This is an actual item that was stolen from a person.
And it's a one of a kind thing. This was the original model that was, proof of concept model was made when they're building the thing in '64. And Major said it's an artifact. It's one of a kind. It's literally priceless.
Now, maybe I'm a little more sensitive on this kind of topic because there is a long history of Native artifacts and Native family goods and stuff being stolen by us. There is a history of multiple Native American museums being shut down by the feds, and then their stuff being taken and seized for debts that were never proven and then sold to federal museums and shit.
Yeah.
And in fact, that happened in my childhood in Rapid City, by the way. So where the government just suddenly shut down the Native museum that was run by the tribe under some loophole in the legal system, and then gave all the stuff to the state and federal government so they could open their own museum with it.
This is why Tom Daschle didn't get reelected.
No, I hope he chokes on a dick. Anyway.
Yeah.
But let's be honest now, the person on the other, the people in the other political side of the aisle from South Dakota are not less racist to natives.
Yeah.
In fact, the current one is at least as bad. Sorry. The only good thing about her working in this administration is she's not in South Dakota anymore. I mean,
you can spread her love to the rest of the country. Okay.
We hate her. Fuck off. I mean, but it's like, so I'm
direct your attention to the illegals and say, okay, there we go. You found your calling. Go to it.
And stop arresting people just from certain things, because there have been natives arrested under the supposed illegals raids. And they won't let them go home with their documentation, even though they're natives and born in country.
Okay, that's
because I actually know people who've had that happen to them during this.
Okay, before we go down that rabbit hole, though, I think
yeah.
Now they're finally getting their model back, though. Because there's home movies of when he was a baby and Gene kind of belts him out like he's riding it. Okay, so
it's his childhood. It's his family. It's his roots. And this is why I feel sensitive to this because of personal history, but it's a compassion thing also. You don't want people to feel like they're having something that was part of who they are stolen from them. And there are laws. You're not legally accountable for stolen goods, but you are supposed to be legally required to return them to the rightful owner if you find out they're stolen.
Yeah.
That's in the storage unit flipping laws. So yes, the people who bought the locker are not legally accountable, but you are legally accountable for what you do with the stuff in the lockers once you buy them. If you buy a locker and you start going through it and you find out that it's got drugs or illegal weapons or XYZ or stuff that was stolen from a criminal organization, or in one case of one unit I saw, they actually found evidence in it of a serial killer keeping all his trophies in it. That is absolutely, you are legally accountable for how you handle that. And if you don't report it properly to the authorities, if you don't return it to the rightful owners, you are accountable for that.
This is what, they were presented with Richard Dayton, what they were shooting the Rigel 7 scenes for the cage. And they said, hey, here's your ship. To this point, it had just been drawings. At this point. Now it's like, here we are.
And that's why it's, to me, I understand both sides of this, because people didn't do anything wrong buying a storage unit that turned out to have stolen goods in it. You can't prevent that from happening if you work as a unit flipper. And again, I know people who do the job. It is actually a very dangerous job. They've had people literally have to go to the hospital because they start opening a case and there's stuff in there with drug powders and stuff on it that's trying to come in contact with their hands. They're supposed to wear all the safety equipment, which they don't properly show in any of the storage unit shows.
Yeah.
Because they do actually pre-screen all units in that because of safety issues. So there's a whole list of issues that are not portrayed in those shows that are very real.
Yeah.
That are actually really dark, really hard to deal with.
And this is where it lived for a long time.
Yeah. And so it isn't as simple as a lot of people make it out to be. But yeah, there are legal accountability laws in that. If you buy the unit, you are legally responsible to make sure that the stuff in it is handled legally and properly.
Now it's something when you zoom in on this picture, it's like there was already a couple of pieces missing. I think it was already missing. The shuttle bay doors were lost early on. In fact, even when they had it show up in Requiem for Methuselah, the doors were already missing by that point. And then at this point, it's already missing, I think, at least 1 or 2 intercoolers in the back here. So it was already in need of some restoration work.
Now to Sobs in chat, if you want to have a high-speed chase on TV, just don't drive a white Bronco.
Yes, please. Ford has enough bad publicity on that. They just brought back the Bronco nameplate, okay?
Can we... That's not for Ford's benefit. Broncos are shit vehicles that roll over worse than almost anything else on the market. Yeah. And the worst vehicle for rollover records in history is the Bronco 2. And I knew somebody who had one. Literally riding down the street and that thing felt like you were trying to flip over. Mm-hmm. It was scary. And I'm saying this as somebody who's ridden in them several times. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Broncos are a whole other beast.
In fact, here it's already missing the doors. And this is 69.
So yeah, it needs to be restored as much as they can, and honestly put into more of like a museum preservation situation.
I think the odds-on favorite is it's gonna, they'll do probably a very detailed analysis of it and scan it for OTOY, because their Roddenberry archive, because this is the state they found it in.
Well, again, and there's things they can do now with technology and 3D printing and stuff like that they couldn't do before to replicate a secondary one and copy it. So even if something does happen to the original, even in preservation, but there's also things they can do to restore the original, add preservation things to help it stay intact for longer, put it into museum stuff, things like that. Things I think we do need to do to preserve the history of it.
Well, I'm sure there's plenty of, if Greg Jean would be at least, he would volunteer. Like, please let me fix this part, maybe.
But this has been one of those stories me and you have been watching the last couple of years with everything going on with it, and
it's like, that but the nacelles were not like that. when Roddenberry lent it out, okay. This poor thing has been abused, And it's also some obvious cases where they tried to put together. I think the intercooler is on backwards. one that's left,
Yeah.
I mean, here's one from back in the days. It was nice and straight. Yeah. I mean, I think by the time this picture was already missing the doors, but everything else was like, it was there.
That's a fair way to describe the Bronco 2 Iron, except for no SUV sucks that bad. I mean, that was like having a Ford version of a Fiat set to a truck. I mean, let's be honest. Or what you really need is an Edsel. I mean, I am a bit of a car and a motorcycle girl, in case you can't tell. My favorite trucks, though, are always going to be the Internationals. I love those things. My brother drove an International Scout for a long time. My sister's ex-husband drove an International for a long time. And chased down somebody who tried to drive off from the gas pump while he was in his International, too. While on the phone with the police.
Wait a minute, this is in the wrong folder.
This is the same guy that got a record at the military base for getting a Bradley Airborne, though.
Okay. Yeah.
Actually, the last thing he heard over the intercom was, "Damn it, you can't drive it like you're International." Boom.
Yeah, this one's in the wrong folder. That's the 11-footer.
He used the rough terrain that they had at the training ground to rev it to high speed going downhill and ramp it off a short hill. And it actually went airborne.
Let's see if we can find a
Getting a Bradley airborne is impressive, by the way.
Let's look it up here. Bradley. So folks can get a proper appreciation of what we're talking about here.
Yeah, just killing a, multi-million-dollar machine. Nothing like it, right?
There we go. Yeah, that's a Bradley. The two guys up here for scale purposes. It's basically a tank with a smaller gun. Okay. Like it's got a very major machine, some heavy duty machine guns up here. It doesn't have a big cannon. But other than that,
pretty thing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
No, but that's the thing.
And not really known as the fastest thing around either. So getting it airborne.
No. Although they can get pretty decent speeds as long as they're going either straight terrain or downhill.
Yeah, or both.
They're just, because of their weight and bulk, they cannot get high speed going uphill, which is why it's hard to get that to ramp. Suffice to say,
it's also not designed to do jumps.
I mean, I have opinions on anything Ford past the year 1970, but that's a different rant. In 1970, they gave up their muscle car era. They sold part of the company. They changed a lot of the design, and they very, very much cheapened the supplies they use on their trucks. And nothing Ford past 1970 compares to the original Fords, and it's shit by comparison. But that's another rant and tirade.
Yeah.
And I do love classic Fords. I love classic Fords.
I think they probably suffered the least in recent years, though, because they didn't, tell the government, we're come and help. No, it's free. We'll do it ourselves.
I'm gonna sit, but no matter how good they are politically, I still hate their vehicles. So here's the thing: I'm gonna cite something I watched with my family when I was a kid.
Okay.
We had to wait because we had, at that time, multiple people in the family were all working part-time to full-time jobs in the mall to help pay bills in the household, right? It was a blizzard in the mountains here. We're in the mall parking lot. It's full of snow. They keep plowing, all that, And me and my dad and my mom are watching the vehicles trying to get into the lot to pick people up and get out. And counting which company's cars got stuck the most and the least. Guess which vehicles almost never made it through the berms, including the trucks?
F-150s?
All Ford.
Ooh.
They kept getting stuck and having to be hauled out and towed out.
Oh, boy.
Most of the Chevys did, too. Like a rocket, never moves. I mean... The ones that got stuck the least were the Rams with the Hemi engines.
Whoops.
All right, everyone.
Stop that. Don't want that.
So that early Hemi.
What the hell? God damn it. Stop it. Where the hell is my interview?
And that was, to me, one of the best ads that Dodge ever did. Was the ad with the father and the mother with the baby.
Bitch, I lost it.
And the whole ad, the mom's like explaining to the kid all the safety features, and you're going to be so safe. Mama loves you. I'm going to take care of you and stuff. And after a little while, she walks off, and it shows the dad sitting there holding the baby and looks at him and goes, "Son, I'm going to teach you everything you really need to know about our vehicle here. Can you say Hemi?" Hemi. That's the boy. That, to me, I love that ad for many reasons, as you can tell. Can you say Hemi? Hemi! And the little voice saying Hemi was just perfect,
I can remember that commercial.
I love that one. I think that's one of the better commercials made in a long time.
Something I came across here is I haven't listened to it myself yet, but there's Roddenberry around the time of the first movie.
I do remember that era. Yeah. Also, that was the era when I started seeing Fords in impacts and accidents where you could actually see that their bumper was just padded with foam underneath it.
I remember when I was I'd have been in junior high school, wasn't high school, but there was a rear end collision between, out in front of our townhouse. An old two Fords, one not 1950 something and a Pinto.
I used to have a Pinto. What's that? Put in new transmission often. Ford's works. Fucker only rolls downhill.
Mm-hmm.
Or the classic one said in South Dakota, found on reservation dump.
Ooh. I usually hear fucked over rebuilt Dodge. But no, the old 50-something
thing. Fucker only rolls downhill myself. As my
like the old 50-something Ford, like maybe they broke the tail light. The Pinto, there was no front end. It's just there's some tinsel on the ground. It's like you couldn't even make out an engine.
There have been 2 accidents my car has been in the decade we've had it. Mm-hmm. Neither were my fault, but let's go into the details of what happened. The first one was a girl in the Toyota Prius version of my little smart car hitting it.
Mm-hmm.
And she hit almost identical position on bumper opposite side on her car. She just floored it bumper to bumper, corner to corner.
Yeah.
My bumper got a little bent and was hanging a little sideways.
Mm-hmm.
And I did eventually replace the bumper because I wanted it to look nice.
Yeah.
But it ran fine. It worked fine. Sitting beside me in the car when she did this, I had my mom's mug sitting loose in the floorboard, this 45-ounce mug, and a cooler with a whole bunch of water bottles around a soft papaya.
Mm-hmm.
The papaya had no bruises. The mug did not tip. The Prius was crippled. It crushed her entire front end, and it collapsed the bumper around the tire and broke 2 of her tires.
I had a thing in England. We're driving along at night. I'm driving a 1980 Pinto that I bought from my guy on base. Now for British traffic, I'm going to at least make sure I know the car. Not have to complicate things with having to learn how to drive a British car. I'm going to get an American car, and I can take it back to the States with it, which I did eventually. That was an adventure in itself. But we're driving along, and ahead of us is someone else in base, like a Chevy Monza. Just slightly bigger, but and there's been an accident on the road, and the traffic wardens are laying out tape. Well, guy ahead of it slams on the brakes. Wet road, slides a bit. Oh, I slam on my brakes. We just bumper to bumper, no problem. The guy behind us is in an FSO, which is a Czechoslovakian model, make, and he kind of clips the right rear corner. Got a slight dent. His entire fender peels back like tinfoil. Yeah.
So the other
they're really cheaply built.
Yeah. The other story I have with this, with my little car, was in the parking lot. That was the woman with the hooker name. But redneck hooker name. Anyway, I'm pulling into a parking space. So, you have to stop briefly, align the car, pull into the space and stuff when you're in parking lots. I'm in the driving lane, signal on, turning to go into the parking space when she decides to just floor it backwards out of her space.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I've seen the footage. She gunned it without looking. And I mean, gunned it. She was in a jacked up SUV with cattle guards.
Oh, boy.
She hit full impact, full accelerator against the door my mom was sitting against.
Mm.
The door had enough damage, we ended up replacing it.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing inside the car was damaged, and there wasn't a bruise or scuff on me or mom.
Mm.
And she hit hard enough that she crushed the outside of the door, picked up the vehicle, and moved it several feet.
Oh, yeah.
Not a scrape inside the vehicle. Now, do I think it's the prettiest car overall or other stuff like that? No. Do I like the fact that it's a sports car version of a little smart car, so it looks like a little Prius, but I can gun it like a sports car? And do I love doing that to the little punks who like to show off their vehicles?
Well, I still want my Ford Fusion, damn it. Like that car was made for me. The seat just fit me beautifully. Anyway, let's get it. This is something that Roddenberry did. Apparently, I have not heard this yet. So,
Oh Lord.
just a minute and a half.
I think what so many of us love about Star Trek is the optimism and the fact that it was a positive outlook on the future.
It's much easier to write negative science fiction because immediately you have all sorts of action things going for you. If the world is falling apart, or if the young people have taken over and killed everyone over 30, or whatever the direction you go, it's easier writing. It's very hard to write exciting action and drama and so on with a positive outlook. Because it is hard writing, we don't get a lot of it.
Did you have a lot of fun? Even aside from the hard work and headaches, was it enjoyable making the motion picture?
It was to a point. Outside of the hard work, I guess so. Although I felt a little bit strange in doing it because in the television show, as producer, I had absolute and total control. In the motion picture, of course, I had to deal with the way motion pictures are made, where the director has more control and the producer stays back. And I sort of missed getting my fingers in costume and music and this and that. But other than that, and except for the hard work, yeah, it was a great pleasure to it.
And director Robert Wise was not foreign to science fiction.
Not foreign to it, and a fine gentleman, and it's a delight to be with.
And he directed, did he not, The Day the Earth Stood Still?
Did indeed,
Which is a classic.
Yes.
And the Andromeda Strain, and
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's it for that. Yep. He was not a Star Trek fan, but his wife was. So, and that was the whole thing. How they got Nimoy. And well, was she? Oh, you're doing the Star Trek movie? Yeah. Have you got Leonard Nimoy? No, he doesn't want. You have to get Nimoy. You must get Nimoy. Okay, fine. It's only at one point, it's like Jeffrey Katzenberg literally on his knees in front of Nimoy at a restaurant. Like, please, come. Let's see, what else have I got racked up here that is not some kind of political import?
The thing is, and as he talked about, fan fiction can be dangerous where they really lose sight of the original design or creation of the story and stuff. He was explaining how fan fiction can become people putting their own views in politics dangerously into the universe they don't fit in.
Yeah.
And that is actually true. And it's got a problematic tinge to it in many ways. And again, this goes to the respect the original source. Fan fiction should be all about trying to uphold that original universe creation. If you want something different, inspired by that, with a different set of lore, a different kind of culture, a different kind of politics, write something inspired by it without the same character names or. Me and my mom are weird people. And one thing that's not a newsflash. That's not a newsflash. What the hell? But one of the things we always would do would literally be to dream whole episodes of the shows we were watching. That were not episodes that were ever aired or anything.
Yeah, just
the whole storylines we would just
write
in our brains while we were sleeping, and they would play in our head like an episode.
Yeah.
There were times we wanted to actually write some of these down because there were some wicked ideas that came out in some of these. But I know, newsflash of the era. Me and my mom are weird people.
Okay, there's something I came across. Canadian Dana Goooo. I had not heard anything from him for a long time, so okay, he's still alive. But,
the mission? To boldly go where no man has gone before, except for the filmmakers who went there about 10 years ago on TV. But now they're ready to head off on a brand new adventure on the big screen in a stunning new format that is, at the same time, God willing, also comforting and familiar. Sound easy? You bet. The year is 1979, and the film is Star Trek: The Motion Picture. I'm Dana Gould, and this is Trailers from Hell. Star Trek, the original series, ended its 3-season run in 1969. Though never a hit on network TV and reruns, in syndication, it took off. Movie talk began as early as 1975. Gene Roddenberry, the show's creator, wrote a script. Others were commissioned, all by big-name sci-fi writers, and each of them had, at its core, a different, though equally giant sci-fi idea. What if a machine thought it was God? What if a machine became God? What if God wanted to be a machine? What if you call God and got his machine? In 1976, it was announced that the Star Trek movie was on. And in 1977, it was announced that the Star Trek movie was off. Then,
because Star
3
Wars.
weeks later, Star Wars came out and the Star Trek movie was back on. Then, wait, no, it's not a movie anymore. It's a new TV series. No, wait, it is a movie. It's a movie, but without Leonard Nimoy. No, wait, we got Leonard Nimoy. Okay, we're good.
That's about how chaotic it was.
Haunting the day the Earth stood still. And
no, hold on. Yeah. Let's say everyone keeps missing the bit that, because, hey, it's on. And then Star Wars hits. The Star Wars did not get the movie going. Star Wars almost canceled the movie.
Yeah. Oh, by the way,
they thought that's it. We've lost our shot. Fox just took with the Star Wars thing. Then Close Encounters came out and hit just as big and made just as much money first run. And that meant, they'll see these guys will see more than one.
They literally thought they'll only watch one. Check the private chat, by the way.
Just one a year, But then,
we have a big sci-fi hit, so we can only do one. So let's just cancel this. That was literally their mindset.
Mm-hmm. But then Close Encounters came out, and people forget that movie was just as big. They battled back and forth at number one. So, these fans will see more than one movie in a year this time. Okay, it's back on.
You mean the movie that misnamed Devil's Tower?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I can't get over that.
It's not
I'm
Devil's
a Black
Tower?
Hills girl. I cannot get over that.
It's not Devil's Tower?
They called it Devil's Island.
Not that I remember.
This was a big thing to the locals here.
I'll have to check that. I don't know. Because I remember being Devil's Tower. Yeah.
This was a big thing to the locals here. They even used clips of it mocking it still.
Okay,
West Side Story was brought in to show the world.
What was the name they debated giving Devil's Tower when it was named officially as a monument? And they used the alternate name to make it a little less connected to reality. So it was actually intentionally done, but it irritated the locals.
Okay.
A future of pointed sideburns and bald chicks that are still somehow hot. Principal photography went off without a hitch as the original series cast reunited to tell a story that, after 400 drafts, seemed to have circled back to exactly the very first thing that Gene Roddenberry turned in back when this whole process started.
Confront the greatest mystery ever to threaten mankind. We are aboard a huge starship called the Enterprise. This is the return of Captain Kirk.
An alien object of unbelievable destructive power is less than 3 days away from this planet.
The bad news. The company hired to do the special effects had never done a movie before, but had created a series of innovative TV commercials. They spent an entire year and the entire budget and produced one usable shot. Paramount then sent a series of blank checks to every effects company in town to get the film done on time, which they did for a fortune. Good news. Star Trek The Motion Picture made its release date and it did make a profit. Bad news. Because of the special effects disaster, Robert Wise did not have time to fine-tune the film. He considered what was
really... my mouse is being weird lately.
You cannot deny the fact that the sewing on those costumes was horrible, but you also cannot deny the fact that it was also almost one of the most brilliantly failed attempts at costume work ever, because they managed to both make them look too loose and also make them so tight the actors couldn't properly act in them at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, they look okay. I mean, they're not grown on.
No, they don't. They look like a train wreck. They do not look okay. What the fuck drugs are you on?
I was not a fan of the Monster Maroons when they came out. Oh, please, that's a little over the top here.
And I'm not saying
we're swerving into Tom Corbett Space Cadet shit here.
I have struggles with all of the costumes in Trek. But
Yeah.
The worst ones were the most motion picture.
Yeah.
Because the worst ones aren't even sewn evenly. You can actually see very visible seamstress errors on the seams if you look.
Yeah.
That to me is somebody who's made custom clothing just made me go, huh? How can you pay that much for clothes and be that bad at sewing?
I just and it's something that happens to this day that these guys never think of. Sooner or later, this guy's gonna have to go to the bathroom.
But I do have to marvel at the wonder of being able to make them look that baggy and pajama-like and still be that tight and restrictive in movement. That I've never seen or heard of any costume being able to do that way again.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a good marvel, but it is a marvel.
And this is set only like maybe 3 years after the original series. So by all rights, they should still be in the velour tops.
Yeah.
At least the first cut. Additionally, the film was hampered by the fact that it was a movie about an idea. What if a machine became sentient? It's a think piece. And as a show, Star Trek was always kinetic.
It was
smart
an
to be
episode
sure,
that
but
was
it was
stretched
also
into
fun.
a movie.
Yeah.
Let's not forget the big question posed in Star Wars was, can we blow that up?
Yeah, Star Wars is not intellectual. Let's be honest.
The good news, it didn't matter. It made enough money, and its sequel, 1982's Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, ensured that the franchise would survive for decades.
A Gene Roddenberry production. A Robert Wise film.
The fucking hell? I mean, sorry. So it's like, let's be honest with everything here because there's a lot of issues with this.
Yeah.
There's a lot of issues. I am way too bloated right now, and apparently in one area in particular. Sorry, I looked down at the wrong moment. I realized that I'm like cutting off air here. Why? Why do I have to do that to be hormonal? Why do I have to be hormonal? I mean, well, that's a whole other debate in that anyways. But the thing is that Star Wars was not designed to be intellectual, and even when they had intellectualized moments, which they did have on occasion throughout things, they were to explain the spiritualism and the fantasy, not to debate science, technology, and development of humanity.
And the whole reason
it was
he created
a spiritual development based on mythology, not an intellectual scientific development, which was Star Trek. That's where the big difference lies.
Because Star Wars is just space. It was the only reason it created because George couldn't get the rights to Flash Gordon.
So the big difference is, if you look at them purely intellectually, Star Wars is science fantasy. It's based in spiritualism, mythology, and action. Star Trek is science fiction. It's based more in intellectualism, debates on humanity and science and how we can develop as a species, and was not action-based. It may have had action moments, but they were few and far between. It was based mostly in discussion and intellectualism. So they were very different niche markets that they were appealing to, and neither's wrong. Neither's wrong. I love both pieces for different reasons, but they were not the same. They just weren't.
It's like the whole thing, why the first pilot was rejected. It's like the real story is so complicated. It was too intellectual for your slobs in the viewing audience. That's a quick little one-off line for a speech, but the real story is very complicated. And that's why that first episode of History of Star Trek, it's over an hour long because I got to go into the details. Well,
let's also look at it this way. Star Trek was in a lot of ways a space odyssey Western.
Yeah.
But if you look at Westerns, even a lot of Westerns were not actually that much action. most of them were discussions of the culture and the developing areas and stretching out into the unknown and stuff like that, with action scenes mixed in for shoot 'em up fun.
Now, if you keep it on Roddenberry, Have Gun Will Travel.
So
A lot of his scripts, it's like they were pretty thought,
literally, Star Trek was the rebirth of the Western, both the intellectualism of and the partial action style. And so that's why it has this whole like cultural phenomenon where it didn't quite fit with any other sci-fi, because it wasn't quite a full sci-fi, but it also was. The same reason why some people don't like Star Trek as much as sci-fi fans is the same reason why it appealed so much to a lot of sci-fi fans who like other genres and cultures.
Well, that's the one
Because it
thing why
had those elements.
Star Trek kind of irritated the old guard Star Trek, the science fiction fans. Because, well, it's Star Trek and Star Wars are both in the area of space opera. But it's like Star Trek leans more towards actual science fiction. But
I wouldn't agree with that, but that's a different debate that it'll take a long time to go into.
It's not hard. So it can get hard, science fiction, but it's kind of
but
comic book science fiction in a lot of cases.
Let's be clear. A lot of the stuff people consider hard science fiction is not more mature than either of those.
Well, that's
in fact, some of it's a lot more ridiculous. And this is speaking as somebody who grew up reading everything from Asimov and all this and Engel and scientific journals and stuff like that, but also grew up reading a lot of things like Tolkien, Eddings, fantasy and stuff. And sci-fi fans always kind of had this attitude that they think they're more intellectual than fans of other similar genres. They're not. It's never been more intellectual than that. I think some of the best times it was more intellectual than that is when Asimov was doing things like actually writing out multiple pages, 120 some pages in that one book, where he was describing what he believed would be the proper way to build a spacesuit. That whole book, I can't even remember the book title now. I just remember that it is a long book and it basically reads like a technical journal for how to build technology.
Stereo instructions.
They're going, you think this is intellectual, but it's really not, because this is theorized, being talked about like fact, and it really has no story or plot. And while the Lucky Star series had a lot of scientific things that we didn't know then that were proven, it also had so much bad science in it that was disproven later.
Isaac Asimov was an interesting bird. Again, I think that was probably his attempt to try and do a space opera type thing.
I love the Lucky Star.
That's why he never wrote a Star Trek script, even though he was very good friends with Gene Roddenberry and advised him on a number of things.
As I was saying, I love the Lucky Star series, but there's a lot of very problematic issues with it. The writing and the way it took on science and other stuff like that. I absolutely adore Henline, and Henline goes far more accurate in his science than Roddenberry and Asimov ever were. But Henline was a bit out there and kooky. And he spent a lot more time sometimes warring with Ayn Rand and hating her, which I don't blame him. Then he spent working on some of his books and his plots, and they hated each other. And they literally, this is why it's so egregious that everybody tries to say that her movement was libertarian. No. The term libertarian and the libertarian movement were created by Henline, and Ayn Rand created what's called libertine, and they were rivals. They hated each other's ideals with a passion. They hated each other with a passion. They spoke horrible things about each other with a passion. They cursed each other's existence with a passion. So she's not libertarian, and anybody who calls her libertarian has no knowledge of the history of these political movements.
By all accounts, Heinlein was much better company than Ayn Rand.
Oh, God, yes. Any day of the week. Any day of the week. God. I would have loved to have met him and talked to him and gone into the stuff he created with him. I would have loved to have punched her in her face. Sorry, not sorry. And she was all in the tank for the hard progressive eugenics left of the abortion movement and was a friend of Sanger.
Oy.
So let's talk about, let's not disavow. Science fiction has a sordid history because both of them are considered science fiction writers. So is freaking Hubbard, who literally created his writings so he could create a cult and get money. I mean, and that's based on his own words. He flat out said he was going to create a cult with how much money he could get out of his followers.
I have heard this legendary short story that creating your own religion for fun and profit was the way it's done. But I have yet to find any evidence this ever actually existed. This was like
I have found evidence of him saying it. The short story itself is not proven, but there's plenty of statements that he made publicly where he admitted these things.
Oh yeah. You put pieces together, you can put it all together, but it's like,
and there are pieces in his books where he talked about needing a religion created to help get rid of minorities and other stuff like that are in his sci-fi books. You can find the pages if you read the stories.
Yeah. One thing,
so it's like it's one of those partial truths. He absolutely said this stuff. He absolutely wrote stuff like this. But the so-called short story people claim where he flat out laid out every detail of how he was going to create the cult and all that. There's no evidence that was actually written.
Yeah, that appears to be urban myth, that thing.
But the other stuff is still there, and if you delve into his writing, he's very open that he was manipulating his followers for money and clout, and that he was a racist. So you don't really need the other part. I don't know why they have to make up that part when there's
they make up everything else. They claim he's not dead.
When there's so much egregious shit. Both of the people who are pro and anti-Scientology, there's so much egregious shit that you can deal with on your own. You don't need to make shit up. It doesn't make any sense.
One thing that irritated Roddenberry, they was like, how come Hubbard stuff, going cult and Star Trek has, and Star Trek is much better written.
I mean, there is a point to that, but you don't want to become a cult leader.
Not really, but
it's
more,
also
more of a
let's
jealous.
be honest,
Hubbard's getting rich off of this, and Roddenberry's having to struggle to get pay the bills. It's like,
let's be honest here. Also, for all Hubbard's flaws, there's not evidence of massive plagiarism in his work. And there absolutely is in Roddenberry's.
Yeah.
As I said, the fact that all of these named government entities and named governments and groups and movements and stuff that were in Star Trek from the show through the movies and some of the books with approval from Roddenberry and other stuff, a lot of the names of those movements came out of Henlein's Star Beast and The Moon is a Harsh Mistress. Yeah. So it's like it wasn't subtle. He's directly ripped off. And yes, did Henlein go, no, I'm not going to sue him. I like what he used him for.
Yeah.
That doesn't make it okay, though, at the same time.
And also in television productions at the time, that kind of stuff was tolerated for the most part. As long as you weren't taking entire plots and sitting and really there was a line.
Usually it wasn't considered okay to directly steal the name of an actual entity, though. And he did that multiple times to Henlein.
Well, yeah, it's like Westerns. Oh yeah,
Oh no, it's not a charge. The United Federation of Planets, the Keeper of Human League, and all these other things that are in Star Trek literally were grabbed right out of Star Beast, which was written in the mid-50s. Yeah. It's a well-known thing about Roddenberry. He was an absolute plagiarist. But and he admitted it himself at times.
So, like Westerns ripped off other Westerns all the damn time. See a producer at a party, a Western producer at one party, we see another. Have you done your High Noon episode yet? Have you done your 310 Yuma?
To be fair, that was usually either script device styles or names of actual historical people that you can't copyright because they actually existed.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit more complex, although I still have problems with a lot of it, especially since a lot of those stories were writing fictional stories about actual historical characters, which is something I have issues with that we've discussed on length many times. But no, there's a lot of just grandiose bullshit. And Roddenberry was shameless. He didn't even a lot of the time give proper credit to his co-authors on Star Trek, and that was well known. He even did admit that before he passed away. Yeah. So it's like, this is grandiose. We all know he was a plagiarist. Yeah. Well, also, but he was a good plagiarist who wrote beautiful work with it.
Yeah. Well, also, Glenn Larson's nickname was Glenn Larceny. Okay, he ripped off blatantly. Oh,
All I'm hearing is Tom singing
Yeah.
Plagiarize.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Plagiarize. Let
Yeah.
no one else's work evade your eyes. Remember why the good Lord made your eyes. So don't shade your eyes, but plagiarize, plagiarize, plagiarize. Only please always remember to call it research.
And it's like, when George Lucas tried suing Glenn Larson for ripping off Star Wars from Battlestar Galactica. And the thing was like he didn't win but he ripped me out. Yeah, but George, you ripped off everybody. So it's like,
Yeah.
so sorry, it doesn't work that way.
If you're going to be the one to sue people for ripping you off, you have to be the one not ripping people off, which is where Headline would have had the argument, because there's no proof he ever took an idea from somebody else.
Yeah.
He had very unique, very creative, very original concepts where he was weaving his own social, political, spiritual ideals into these fantastical universes.
Yeah.
And I think in a lot of regards, I think my favorite science fiction writers, because of how little they took from anyone else and how much they actually came up with on their own, are Henline and L'Engle. Hands down.
Yeah. I'm going to throw...
And L'Engle, yes, was more often science fantasy, but she did a lot of some really hardcore science work too. And she actually came up with multiple theories in her books that were proven in scientific development later. She got awards for it, you know? And she wrote stuff dealing with mitochondria and this development of science and technology when nobody knew what this shit was, and they were still trying to prove its existence. Which you have to give credit for that. And there's things in those books she wrote on that they still can't prove. You know? We still don't have the technology to prove some of her theories in that. But...
Okay, this one has been gone through a few times here. Okay. And that's also, it is complicated as fuck because...
And both of them stole from each other. There are times both of them did a storyline before the other one.
The thing is, there was nothing within DS9 that would not already pre-existed in Star Trek. Space stations, wormholes. The Cardassians had already been established by that point. So
but like I said, also, when you look at the episodes tracking, yes, there are episodes that Babylon 5 did that did a story that was almost word verbatim told in DS9 a few weeks later, but that also happened in the inverse too. Yeah.
There was a bit of a right, and it worked for both shows too, but they were also their own unique creatures.
Oh yeah, both of them made a fortune off of playing that rivalry against each other and saying the other one was stealing from them.
Yeah. The general consensus, no, Berman and Pillar were not aware of the Babylon 5 pitch. That they, it was pitched to Paramount a couple years earlier. But maybe Brandon Tartikoff,
but most of these pitches,
he might have, hey, how about on a space station? And they get them rolling on that.
None of these pitches were ever public knowledge until they either got picked up or somebody leaked it anyways. And most people didn't know Babylon 5 had been pitched until it actually got pitched again and actually released.
Yeah,
so
picked up by Warner Brothers.
There's a lot of misnomer about that, and it's not as much. Again, it's one of those where there's half-truths to it and partial truths to it, but it's not fully true. Like the interracial kiss stuff. There's some truth to it, but no, it was not the first interracial kiss. It wasn't even the first white and black kiss. It was the first scripted white to black kiss on primetime television in the U.S.
But strictly interracial, it wasn't even Star Trek's first interracial kiss.
But strictly interracial, for fuck's sakes. How long were Lucy and Desi doing stuff together on the air?
But I think it's like, if they had aired them in order of their own thing, they had filmed Ilana Troyes well before Plato's Stepchildren.
You also look up the basic concepts that were used to create Next Gen, DS9. Voyager was basically a ripoff of Lost in Space. I'll give them that one. Let's be honest.
Hell, Marina even called it that. It's basically Star Trek Lost in Space.
But most of these Star Trek shows and movies that happened in that era, along with Andromeda, along with Earth Final Conflict and stuff, these were in Roddenberry's notes that he was writing with Michelle back in the 70s.
Yeah.
they finalized them and created the shows and released them without him, but the concepts he wrote with her back when they were first together. So,
yeah, the
partial truth.
Andromeda's a mashup, really.
Andromeda was supposed to be early Star Trek, where they were dealing with stuff, and again,
well,
it didn't fit in the universe. This is even what Majella said, and even what the notes said. This was supposed to fit in the Star Trek universe, and the reason it was never made while he was alive is because they couldn't figure out how to make it fit in the Star Trek universe without messing up canon. And so they just went, let's just make it its own universe finally, so she could do it in tribute to him.
Mm-hmm.
Same with Earth Final Conflict, which had a lot of issues because it was originally written as the early interactions between Vulcans and humans when Vulcans were still troubled and battling with the Romulans, and they tried to rewrite a lot of it to take that out. Then there was battles with having issues with getting the full cast to stay and other stuff, and it caused issues. And some of the stuff they did with the Talons when they tried to rewrite it and change it so it wasn't just Star Trek universe really lost some of the original context of what they were trying to create originally. Yeah. I still like the show. I still have the entire series on DVD, but it had a lot of problematic issues and it didn't end well. Andromeda kind of went weird when they started trying to fix things at the end to keep it going. And the reason they were fixing it at the end to keep it going is because Michael Shanks and Alexa Doy got married and were breeding like rabbits. And then she took time off for a while where she would not be on camera because of the miscarriage that caused her to go infertile after that. And that's why she wasn't there for a good portion of that last season and a half.
Yeah.
And that's why they had to introduce Rami. That's why they had to introduce all this other stuff. And that's where a lot of the complexities that messed up the show in the last season came from, was trying to work around her medical issues as a mother who lost a child.
Yeah.
And that's what most people didn't realize at the time. And she kind of didn't talk much about that.
Okay.
So it's like... knowing now what we know then, it's
okay. Lex is an acquired taste. Okay, it's basically a German show. It's an interesting one. If you can get into it, they've got some stuff there. Now, like I said, but
I wouldn't say it's any harder to watch than freaking Run Lola Run, or The Fifth Element for that matter. If you're going to focus that much on effects and jumping from scene to scene and opera singers, do the effects well. Don't make it so bright that you can't even follow the storyline half the time, and get an opera singer who's not off key. Anyway, I will never understand why that movie is so beloved. It is.
I like it. It's quirky. I don't know. The Earth Final Conflict was probably the most fleshed out of there, and I think basically after the fourth season they ran out of notes, and that's when it just went, okay, let's go, and then they totally lost the plot. As for,
it wasn't that they ran out of notes, actually. They rewrote the story several times to deal with actor issues, including the fact that apparently the actor who played Boone did not get along with anyone else in the cast, and they were always fighting off set. So they replaced him last hand, created this alien offspring of his to explain it, and then they kind of kept changing the story to try to work with this new storyline that was not ever supposed to be there, and they just kept going further off track. Yeah.
No, with Andromeda, though, because first I'd seen it was through the Lincoln Enterprises catalog. There's this is another concept. It's called Starship, about a sentient starship and the adventure crew. But also it was pointed out sometime later with I just thought he was just salvaging the name Dylan Hunt. No, really good. Genesis 2. It's about Dylan Hunt who gets suspended in time and comes and get reawakened. Everything has changed. Okay, they took Genesis 2, mashed it together with Starship, and that's Andromeda.
The worst Star Trek and the worst plagiarism in Star Trek still goes to the movie Nemesis. May it burn in hell along with everyone who worked on it. I hate that movie so much.
That movie was doomed. Again, it lost opening weekend to a J-Lo rom-com.
Which one was that one again?
Made in Manhattan.
Oh God, that's even one of her least popular ones.
Yeah, it's like the general term of the Nemesis. It never opened.
It's like it'd be one thing.
Nobody showed. Yeah.
if it lost to like her movies that she did that were really popular, or to like Monster-in-Law or stuff, because those were actually really popular.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, I think there was a Harry Potter movie coming out there, and some other big, genre movies that moved their premiere dates away from Nemesis. Because it's always Star Trek movie's going to win the weekend. Just get out of the way, and it comes out and it just farts on there, and word they're getting bad buzz about the movie anyway.
I
the cast already grumbling about Stuart Baird.
An interview with a fan in the 90s who was talking about writing a Star Trek movie he wanted to create someday called Nemesis. And it's literally the same fucking plot. And he told this and he wrote this in the 90s. It was not him who wrote it. And it doesn't fit the storyline. It doesn't fit the character arcs. It was a horrible train wreck. And it deserves every bad credit it got and 15,000 more. And Insurrection deserves more credit than it got.
I know Gabe Kerner was, it was featured in Trek. He's one of the things he's working on was this, fan film project called Nemesis. So that may have been it.
No, this was a little boy writing this plot that I
saw. He was a teenager at the time. So he was maybe 14. No,
I'm sure that wasn't the name, but I'll have to look into it more because I've been trying to find this footage ever since, and I can't seem to find it. Because God forbid I could actually find my original tapes. Actually, I have the bin of original tapes. I don't have a VCR. I had that recorded. It's on my bins of the old VHSs I have in the basement of my house. You
should be able to get a VCR at the thrift store for $5. So
I've never seen them at the thrift stores where I live. Never. But I should do it.
You need to come down here as an ARC thrift store just a few blocks away.
I was speaking. I should get one. I should get some time with my husband to get it to work with the TV. I really should go through those, find the old wedding video, find a lot of my old clips and stuff I recorded off different TV and interviews and stuff, and find some of my old Trek interviews and stuff. But I just never have the time for this shit.
We may have a couple we can give you. I don't know. But no, it was not getting good buzz anyway. Because it was already getting out that Stuart Baird clearly did not know what the fuck he was doing. He kept referring to LeVar Burton as an alien boy. No, just fucked up. And Marina was not too happy about the shit they made her do. So it was already coming out. This is not a happy crew making this movie.
Well, and
the fans were already pissed off because they were getting blown off about our complaints about whatever. It was Enterprise or Voyager at the time. And I think it's probably Voyager because Joe Monosky made a crack. They're like bugs on the windshield, on Voyager's windshield. Oh, really?
Yeah, you remember when he made that comment? I remember what that was about. That was actually about the native protests about the fake Indian writing the Indian stories. We were bugs on windshields. It wasn't that important or serious.
Yeah.
That you literally advertised that you were going to tell the real story for Native Americans, and you hired a known fake Indian to make up fake Native culture. And when people protested, it went, doesn't matter. It's not actually important.
Yeah.
It's like, are you serious? Fuck you. I mean,
it's like the ratings weren't the greatest at that point. It's like, okay, we'll hit you where we'll hurt. We won't show up for your movie.
Well, I mean,
and Nemesis paid the price for fan discontent. And when it got around that it was a lousy movie anyway, that never recovered. Because it wasn't like Galaxy Quest where the opening for Galaxy Quest sucked, but it recovered because it got around. Hey, this is a good movie. Come see, and it rebounded. Nemesis just it just shit the bed and laid there. And the more they came out, the worse they got. Because Barrett said, "Oh, I'm treating this like this is the first Star Trek movie." You can't do that. In fact, Patrick Stewart addresses that in the extras. You can't treat this like it's the first one. It's part of a series. We got, it's the 10th movie, for God's sakes.
Still say Insurrection is one of my favorite movies from Star Trek.
Well, I was cheering that one from the time it opened. No, this is one of the best Star Trek movies around.
And it is actually a really brilliant way to dip into some real world politics without ruining the politics in universe.
Yeah.
And it was, yes, Insurrection was about the Trail of Tears. That's even what the writers said. And about the forced relocation for the greater good.
Yeah. They also like Armenia and other, all the other whenever people have been forced out of their, never a good
They
move.
said directly it was based on the Trail of Tears. They took inspiration from all of these forced relocations, genocides, and it gave a voice to a lot of people globally who've never had that voice before, because even today, it's really kind of taboo to talk about these forced relocations and genocides. They don't get talked about often. They are silenced when you do talk about them. And that is an extremely problematic issue, too. So there is that reality. There is that knowledge, that balance and all that. So it's an interesting scenario with that. And like I said, I appreciate the fact that there's a lot of things in Star Trek that came about because Roddenberry actually very much liked a lot of the Native American cultures.
Okay, sent out
a spent a lot of time with a bunch of reservations too.
Yeah. Sent out a thing to Rob Burnett so he can get in. Say, dude, I'm on the freeway coming back from my morning show. It was Campia. And I said, we'll be on for a while.
I do need to talk to Burnett again.
How long can we tap dance here? Okay.
Me and him were supposed to do a second stream together years ago, and we were literally planning it when everything happened, and I lost my dad, and I didn't message him for forever, and then I felt guilty for not messaging him forever, and then I just didn't message because I felt guilty for not messaging.
Okay.
You know that cycle.
Okay.
And I need to talk to him because.
So we will see if we can get him to keep this going long enough for him to get back into the Observatory.
Because he's never been anything but sweet to me, and I do feel bad that I just kind of went silent on him while we were planning a stream. And you know me and my internalized cycle of, I screwed up.
I mean, we've been yakking for we need to do a stream. Well, damn it, get your ass home.
Now, we've ranted Trek a while. We always do other media news, too.
Yeah.
I'm going to go on about what I talked about earlier in the private chat.
Oh, the Moana thing?
Oh, yeah, I'm going to for a few reasons. So let's be realistic here. And I'm going to have a few images to pull up for this. I'm going to send you the images so you can screen share them easier. The original character versus what they're fucking doing to her. And the actress. So the original character. One sec here. Guys, send me a few pictures here first.
Oh, okay. We'll do it this way.
So the original character, great.
Stop spazzing out. Damn it. Okay.
Let's find the picture I had the other day.
The original Moana.
Back here's the picture side by side. The actress and her natural curls versus the way the original character was designed.
Hold on, let me pull that so.
And then
don't need to be sharing
Disney,
what it wasn't doing.
And Disney being Disney. Here
we go.
So one sec, because I have to be able to see what you're putting up when. That's why I'm sending you these real quick. This is the problem here. In the middle of this whole debate with ethnic hair and issues like this, and I've spoken out that the right is actually wrong in regards to things like the Crown Act and stuff like that, because we do actually have issues where minorities are treated differently for jobs for our ethnic hair, especially Native men not being allowed jobs because you're not allowed to have long hair, even though female coworkers also have long hair. Shit like that is actually an issue. So as much as I hate her comments on it on hair and standardized beauty comments actually are honest. So as we as a society are having this huge debate on ethnic hair. I'll see if I can find a better copy that way.
Yeah.
And ethnic hair not being debated. As ethnic hair is trying to be accepted, suddenly Disney, in the middle of this debate, releases information on their live action take for Moana. And they hired an actual Samoan girl, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
And they straightened her fucking natural curls out and made her look more Midland native.
Mm-hmm.
So they literally changed her ethnicity and her hair type in the live action one, even though they actually found an actress who looked like the original part.
Mm-hmm.
And they released this in the middle of a national debate on ethnic hair and how we're not accepted as easily. Can you feel the tone deaf in Disney? Can you feel how stupid Disney is? Because I can. There is standardized white beauty is actually a thing in the U.S., despite the fact that it's not as the left portrays it, it isn't how the right portrays it either. We are drilled into our heads our entire childhoods that we have to have these narrow European faces, that we have to have certain hair types, all this stuff. And it does affect how we view ourselves. BMI standards have been proven that it's actually extremely inaccurate on most minority body types because curves of the body, hip size, like that are different. So they know that these aren't accurate. And they know that it creates an unfair situation for a lot of people. But yet, when they had the chance to do it right, they erased her ethnic features and made her look more like a Samoan version of Catherine Zeta-Jones. It's like, my whole childhood, even when I was anorexic and skinny, I always had people tease and taunt about the forehead being big and wide and boxy, the high sideways cheeks, all this stuff. The Lakota features. And most of the time, even you guys have known me, I'm self-conscious about them. I hide them in my hair most of the time, don't I? I'm not doing that shit anymore. Fuck that. My ethnic features have nothing wrong with them. But the thing is that is actually real, where we get an internalized hatred. And I'm not going to go into racism or shit like that. That's not the same. But we get this hatred that's bred into us because our appearance is not the standardized beauty. And it's bad enough when the left makes it everything so racist. These actual discussions can't happen usually because you just sound like, oh, everything's race. It's like, well, no, but there are racial issues that most people don't know unless you're in these communities, you know? But we don't have a good view in most of the U.S. culture of traditionally ethnic features. B, how does this help? To erase the Samoan and make her look more like she's trying to be like Lakota. How does that help? And I don't blame the actress. She signed up for the role. The makeup department controls how she looks. But her literal glam shot for her acting gigs looks more like Moana than the trailer they released.
Yeah.
Because of the way they did her hair and her costuming.
Well, the beauty of the internet, they're being ratioed to hell and back because of that. So.
Yeah, and they fucking deserve it. The fuck, Disney? Why can't you leave natives alone or shut the fuck up? It's like the one time that people in native communities felt like they were treated with respect in stories that Disney did. Two times. Moana and Lilo and Stitch, and they're butchering them. Now, Lilo and Stitch, there's a battle with that because the writer that butchered half of the native struggles in the remake is also Hawaiian. And they whitewashed out the issues with CPS and the abuse that happens to natives in it.
And through an ending, no, it's okay to leave your sister behind. Go on.
Follow that dream. Anti-native, it's not even funny. And the thing is, because there is a stigmatism in a lot of native communities on ever doing anything for yourself, but there's also the focus on family. It's a contentious battle. It's been a huge battle for the last year in native communities because of what they did with it. And I'm not going to say that's a hit or miss completely because I understand why both sides are charged on that debate. What I don't need is a whole bunch of white liberals trying to explain to people why we should appreciate it or why it's problematic and we should accept it as this. That's the least of the issue with Pocahontas. Disney did so much shit wrong with Pocahontas. It's not even funny. They did so much racist shit. And adding in goofy talking animals and shit to a movie that's about a serious historical event is absolutely tone deaf and disgusting. So, you know, Disney's viewpoint towards natives is really simple and it's really easy to see. It's the reason why I quit watching Once Upon a Time when they did the Dark Swan series, and suddenly they were describing dream catchers as satanic black magic and conjuring.
Excuse me? The fuck is this?
And I'm not kidding, they did. Disney has an extremely long and biased background, anti-native. They're also the reason why people have so much false information on lemmings, because they literally created the lemmings jumping off a cliff scenario. They literally had staff off camera behind the animals throwing them off the cliff to create that for money. Disney is... I believe the phrase "duck Disney" comes to mind. Especially when it comes to native struggles, they don't get it. They're tone deaf. They're racist. They're idiotic, and they think that they speak for minorities while they are doing the most anti-minority shit out there. It's the reason why Echo became a joke. And was never really put out correctly because they had the whole show ready and it never was released the way it was supposed to. And you know why that was, right? It was a superhero show they were supposed to do.
Oh, yeah.
And they literally, in the thing, claimed that they were doing this for representation for natives. And the ad was basically what would happen if you took a stereotypical phrasing of natives being drunk and abusive and warped it through a black inner city lens and claimed that this was a representation for natives. And then when they were questioned on it, released a page basically saying that they were going to show in the credits where they got all of these staff members for the set from different reservations. Oh, okay, fuck you.
I think they got the look for Pocahontas from Rita Coolidge circa 1972.
And the thing is that I actually
She's
have
Cherokee.
a drawing.
That doesn't work that way. Okay.
Yeah, I actually have a drawing that people think looks like it was trying to be Pocahontas. It is literally a drawing of one of my cousins who's more Cherokee. That's it. And it's literally a drawing of my cousin, and I've been accused of it being Pocahontas. But hey, right? So let's get over this whole notion. The fact that people are still debating who qualifies as what race. The fact that they're still constantly trying to say, they're still trying to disprove that Michael Jackson's daughter was his daughter. They're still trying to claim that it can't be a biological child. There's no proof of this. It's literally just because she came out looking white and they don't want to actually admit that she's black ethnically. And they're still promoting this with no evidence. And they're still racially harassing her for trying to talk about her black heritage. I've heard some of the comments that were made about Hoku and not looking like her father. And, well, maybe he adopted her when she came out. She even publicly shared when in the 90s the DNA test showing it was her father, and they still made fun of her and said it wasn't real. The abuse that culturally happens to pale minorities and mixed minorities is bad enough without the crap that Disney and these liberal companies are making, where they're trying to shove us all into these weird racial shoehorns that don't fit us.
Yeah, you know what makes the red man red? Being treated like this. This is.
And don't get me wrong, that one, Peter Pan was extremely problematic for a lot of issues, and it was. Even in that time, there were several scenes in that were considered racist, that were actually spoken on in that era.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, what year was Peter Pan?
Because I've actually seen things that came out the year it was made where they talked about this being, do we really want to say this about natives? This is ridiculous. I'm trying to remember the year.
Look it up here.
53.
Okay.
So it's like, I've seen stuff.
Yeah.
Articles and interviews that were older than my mother that pointed out that there was a lot of actual racial stereotyping in that story. So it's not really a woke thing that's being pointed out. That one had issues. And again, I got that stupid song stuck in my head as a kid, and I hated that song.
Mm-hmm.
Because literally, imagine as a kid watching a movie, if you're black, and the movie literally uses the hard R version of the N-word over and over, playfully.
Yeah.
Would that feel awkward? Because that was what it did. And so it's like, do I think it should be censored or removed? No. Do I think that we could use that as a teaching experience to go, that was dumb?
Yeah. And
this is where I don't agree with removing artifacts. I don't agree with taking things down. I don't agree with rewriting things. And sometimes those racial stereotypes are put into stories and movies to call out people like that.
Yeah. Like the frequent use of the N-word in Blazing Saddles.
Mm-hmm.
There was a point to that. Yeah, the how stupid it was.
And in fact, I can't stand Chris Rock, but there was a point to his Black People versus N-word skit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where he is calling out. And the fact that skit is really not liked by a lot of the Black community, because he says in it, who's more racist? Black people are, because we hate white people and Black people. I mean, if you're not in the community, can you criticize him for saying it? But the people in the community also, he's saying this because this is what he's witnessed.
Yeah.
I'm not going to agree with him on a lot of shit. And he has his own problematic racial things he's done over the years, but that doesn't mean he was wrong on that issue.
Long time. Let me I'll put it in private. But something an old black guy told my dad long time ago.
My mom remembers a conversation that she had with one of my dad's relatives back when she was in school age child. Because in the Black Hills here, they had a massive flood in Rapid City in 72 that destroyed a lot of downtown and killed a bunch of people, right? And she's talking to him about it.
Hold on.
And he looked her dead in the eyes and said, I never will understand why you white people build your homes in the river. Culturally, ethnically, we believe that the river is the floodplain as well.
Hold on, I phrased that
part
wrong.
of the river. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, let me do that again.
And so
that's I think it's probably closer. Ignore the first one.
yeah.
Yeah, there's an old black guy told my dad that long time ago.
But yes, as I said, so these kinds of phrases, these kinds of situations, these kinds of stories, they exist. They happen all the time. We've got to get over this notion that that race isn't an issue still, but also that it's an issue on only one side. or that you can only be racist to certain people. Why is it that every single time I talk about MMIW, IHS abuse of natives, broken treaties, and stuff like that, I cannot talk about this stuff. I could not talk about the Grand Gateway Hotel and the civil rights war in Rapid City, any of this, without every single post having people going, well, black women, well, what about black women? Well, this happens in the black community. Yet, if an issue is brought up that equally affects all these communities, and I say it's not just in the black community, we're all dealing with this in these communities.
Mm-hmm.
Let this be about black people. It's like you try to make everything about you already.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to portray the entire media as black versus white. You're trying to portray every issue as black versus white. You're erasing native history, native music, native culture, and claiming that it's black all the time. But we're not allowed to point out that this isn't a racial issue for you. It happens to a lot of us, and we actually have it worse in that situation. It's not all about you.
Yeah. You're not the only minority in this country.
And you're not the one suffering the worst right now. And you're the one that has a lot more voice. When I hear somebody, and I'm talking about MMIW, and they go, well, it's happening to black women too. Okay, you have a higher rate of these kinds of crimes being done to you than the average white woman. In most states in this country right now, the highest rates of abduction, missing person, murder, NSA are happening to Native women by massive scales.
Mm-hmm.
This is not like, well, it's a little more statistically happening to them. This is states where the population is 2 to 9% Native, having 50 to 90% of the known violent crimes being committed against Native women. No, you're not going through the same situation in the black community. In the black community, a lot of it's black on black. In the Native community, we have the lowest rate of the crimes being committed by our people and the highest rate of the crimes being committed to us. In most communities, predatory behavior to the community is largely people you know. Family, friends, somebody who's been in your school, stuff like that. In the Native community, it is almost 90% outsiders going after us. We have a unique situation that nobody else does. And we deserve a voice for that. And a lot of us are getting angry that we can't talk about this without it being made about black issues. A lot of us are angry that we can't talk about our issues without everyone taking these few tribes that were an example of this and trying to claim that we're all African or we're all Asian or we're all European, and they want to take credit for us. And they all want us, but they all want to treat us like we're subhuman at the same time. Now, which one is it? Do you want us to be you or do you want us to be subhuman? I think it's unfortunately more on both sides than most people realize, but it's the whole thing versus the white liberals not really being your friend or ally versus some of the people on the other side being openly hateful to you. I'd rather deal with the openly hateful usually than those who claim they care and really are trying to silence us. At least the open hate, I know what I'm dealing with, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's like people talk about autistic issues and, well, the underdiagnosing of people that are black who are autistic. Okay, but they have a higher diagnosis rate for people with autistic issues than autistic community when it comes to Native and Asian. But if we talk about the issues that we have in the Native and Asian community for being diagnosed with autism, it's, well, why are you trying to make this about you? Because it's literally about what's happening to us. Duh. Look at what happened with Hendrix.
Mm-hmm.
He was mixed race. Yes, he was part black. He was more Native than black, and he grew up on the res. The media intentionally blackwashed him and tried to erase his Native heritage. His family has called it out for decades. They still cite him constantly, an example of black music and why blacks created genres. Excuse you?
Link in the chat. The documentary Rumble. YouTube has it on for free.
Cool. Watch
And
that. You'll see how much Native history has been erased in the music industry to credit most of our culture and our music to the Black community.
Figure out a way to download this sucker.
And that a lot of music that's credited to the Black community is actually Native American, which blended with some Black culture.
Mm-hmm.
We're tired. We want our voices heard. And that doesn't mean we don't want to tell Black history. That doesn't mean we don't care about the things that have been hidden out of their history or want their stories heard. But we need our voices heard too. And it's not always about other people, you know? And meanwhile, somebody wants attention and heard me ranting. Look at.
Mm-hmm. I believe Steph is sleeping right now.
Yeah, but look, I'm not even holding her.
I know. It was just sitting there.
She's like, I've got my human.
Yeah. Doug Drexler's been posting various stuff to try and drum up support for Doug. Somehow he's got Roddenberry's golf clubs. At least one of them.
All right. So that's why I rant a little bit sometimes. Cornery, please. Look at that. She's holding on as I try to set her down.
No, I got comfortable. I won't go. No, you can't make me. You want to bet for a ball?
I love you. Mm-hmm. Let go of my arm. Now she's complaining.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, no biting my toes. But that's the thing is, every time I point these things out, if I talk about how Native history has been conglomerated in and kind of almost, let's be honest, assimilated by Black culture, how a lot of Native stuff is credited to the Black community when they do finally credit it to minorities and stuff like this. If I ever point this out, it's, you must hate Black people. Why are you trying to erase us? It's like, I'm not erasing you. I'm trying to claim my own cultural history.
Mm-hmm.
This is like the people who told me that I was anti-Navajo because I pointed out they weren't the only code talkers. They're only one of 7 tribes that did it. And my tribe had just as many code talkers as the Navajo did.
The last one apparently died recently.
There was an entire military team of code talkers that were Lakota, that were from the Oglala tribe. And they actually did more code talking events than even the Navajo did. Mm-hmm. Are they talked about, or do they just talk about the Navajo when they talk about code talkers? Well, why are you trying to erase the Navajo? I'm not. I'm trying to give our credit as well. It doesn't have to be all or none. Why is there this attitude in so many of these minority communities that if you ever try to take back your own history, you're trying to erase theirs?
The one thing is kind of, when they figured out they were speaking Navajo, they still couldn't figure out what they were talking. Talking about iron birds and eggs and stuff.
Well, if you watch the Rumble special he linked, it'll go into details, but literally a lot of the roots of rhythm and blues, jazz, soul, bluegrass, and rock are actually Native. They know that. They have the documentation of that, but they've credited them to Black and white musicians specifically. They know this is a huge part of our culture. There's even a lot of musicians that are white and are Black who've been trying to call this out. There is the general whole thing of Native American stuff being treated like it's bohemian when it's used in art, which it's not. They're not related. And they keep labeling Native American art styles as bohemian in craft stores.
It's like bohemian just doesn't mean hippie. It's a region in Europe.
Also, Native stuff isn't hippie. That's offensive to every Native out there. We don't like them.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a whole other rant.
The bohemian thing was a strictly European thing. Okay, kind of. But how about are you familiar with the song "Come and Get Your Love" from Redbone? in Guardians of the Galaxy. That's your primary example right there. I will go ahead and I will dig up that clip from when they appeared on the Midnight Special. In fact, it was Hendrix that said, no, let that native stuff out and go for it, hardcore, yeah. Because they were friends with there we are.
Now, one of the members of Redbone was actually Hispanic and from Mexican roots,
but
most of the band was native.
There we go. And again, instead of when I pulled this on,
but bluegrass
on Anime's
is literally
channel
on Native American music and Native American instruments.
I'll go and let this run a little bit. But yeah,
you don't care if you get flagged for
this is how they open their shows.
Mm-hmm.
This was on NBC late night. I think very sad. There we go. And I'm going to pull at that point to maintain some monetization here.
Hell, one of the members, whether you like the band or their style or not, one of the members of Black Eyed Peas is native, and some of the instrument styles they uses.
But see, even that song particular, the way it started, hey, it's right out of it. Yeah. Hey, well.
Why do you think that kind of music makes the native girl bounce? I mean,
yeah. I played that bit on Nights of the Anime Table. That's offensive. No, it's not. That's the real thing. Okay.
If it was offensive, why is the native girl dancing?
Yeah. That's not cultural appropriation. It's cultural reclamation. Okay. It's not.
If you look up also, Brule did a lot of concert shows, tours around the country and stuff. Very native music.
Mm-hmm.
They had their music stolen and clipped, showed, and used by other bands, including Enigma, without crediting them.
Mm.
But absolutely native band.
Yeah.
Paula Roche gets told he looks like a sunburned Alice Cooper a lot. Let me see if I can find the picture to show you here.
Yeah.
Because he's not wrong.
Yeah. Next, something you can probably swing down here. The Buffalo Bill Brave Museum. They, when they're in the thing, they'll have a dancer out there, in the part of the tour.
One of these times we got to drag you up here to Crazy Horse.
That too.
You got to see it. Unfortunately, they've quit doing the laser show. They can't afford to fix the machines back up.
Mm.
But because they cut some of the funds for some of the things that weren't as vital.
Yeah. Because
they've been doing a lot more blasting and a lot faster building lately.
Yeah. It's like, we'd like to get this done while some of us are still alive. At least a little more recognizable besides the face.
Well, you got to realize the first several decades of building were purely him and his son.
Yeah.
Building with machines that didn't hardly work. Most of it was done literally by hand.
Mm-hmm.
So there wasn't a lot of progress.
Yeah, I know.
You're
lucky you get a nose out of that, okay?
Whereas right now they're actually working on finishing sculpting the hand and starting to build the headdress and stuff.
Yeah.
They've made incredible progress the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to find where this picture is here. I've got a picture of Paula Roche. Oh my god. You so like Alice Cooper in this one. And the thing is, the native culture and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So out in that stupid field in the humidity in Iowa in the middle of the night after the show, and we're talking to him in the band. And I talk about, yeah, I was at your first show when you first started back in Rapid City in the early 90s. My dad's standing soldier. Without missing a beat, looks at me and goes, sister, hugs me. Then turns around to my god kids who are very black.
Mm-hmm.
And starts hugging them. Not a batted eye, nothing. It's just like, oh, you've got standing soldier in your blood. Okay, you're all family to me now, all of you. Should be interesting because some of the guys I have the most issues with are actually relatives of his. Because some of the kids who were the worst dumbasses and bigots and bullies in the school I went to were actually cousins of his. So, no, not everybody in his family is managing to live the culture in life. That's a whole other battle. If I can actually get this to load, it doesn't seem to want to. Let me see what's going on here.
Oh dear, someone's done a BBC sea shanty. Check that one out later.
I'm going to send you a couple of pictures. Do not share these. Okay?
Oh, okay.
This is what I was talking about family, and we're all over the place.
There we go.
So, yeah, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
So what do we do to understand each other, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to find these, though. Things are mixed up right now. I hate trying to find things. I'm not necessarily always the best at getting everything organized. Yes, Ornery? I love you. Why are you all over me? She's like, 'cause I want attention. And you're here. Right? Okay, Ornery, I know. You're a good girl. Even if you're a crazy old girl. You realize she's a decade old now. She was born October 15th in 2015. I know that because my brother rescued her mother when she was pregnant. She was born in my brother's house.
Just send a message to Burnett. The discussion is wandering. We need something to drag it back to Star Trek.
Oh, hush you. We're getting into pop culture stuff.
I know.
Straight, you ass.
That wasn't a happy one.
Well, that's because I'm a bit of an ass. Hey, you. Are you going to stop, Cat? It's like, I'm not.
Mm-hmm. Now, Rob did do an interesting kind of a rant stream last night about what needs to happen. About, the history of supposedly a fourth Star Trek. And it's like, yeah, you remember that one? Yeah, it didn't happen, did it? It's like, all the different announcements, and it's like one of them was just plain stupid. Oh yeah, we're back to original cast. We'll begin negotiations. You begin negotiations? You haven't? No, you never do that, because now you just gave all of the negotiating power to the cast you said you're going to have. So, oh, you want us? This is what it's going to cost you. If you don't pay it, you're going to look like fucking idiots because you announced it and you didn't get it. Pfft, moron. You learned nothing from Spielberg, did you, JJ?
Looking through these photos, trying to find those, I just found the picture of my goddaughter running around in an I Am Groot shirt. Family.
Mm-hmm.
Family, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cat, are you going to let go of my arm? She's like,
They briefly mentioned the Tarantino thing. I want to see that script. I want to see the script Tarantino was looking at and working, because.
all right. Come here, you. What do you want? I can't even set you down on the table. She's like, no.
He wants to stay up there in his countries and dominate your entire existence because he is the cat. Or she is the cat.
She,
yes.
Ornery. Look here, you crazy old girl. I need to set you down. She's like, no, you don't. Hey, come on, girl. Beep, 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 beep. Tickie's beeping your nose and you don't care. She's like, no, you're holding me. She's a good cat. Out.
Okay, what do we got here?
No. There is an intentional blackwashing of Native, and they even talk about it in that special because it was done specifically to Hendrix. Just like the segregated bathrooms, they always focus on the black and white. They don't focus on the fact that a lot of the places had a third door that wasn't even up to the standard of those two that would have nothing but the slur for natives on it.
Mm-hmm. I'm being yelled at. Hold on. Yeah.
The other not being included, that's a whole tribal membership thing, and that also goes back to government issues, but that's different than the misappropriation and incorrect information on Native history. Don't get me wrong, that is an issue too, but that's not the same part. It's really weird because you talk to the ones who are the what they call themselves the Black Israelis, where they think every race on earth is really black and they just lost their color in their way, and they're determined to try to take credit for the Native American community and call us anti-black if we don't go along with it. And so that's where I'm like, that's the issue. What we're talking about, and the reason why we use Rumble as a site, and what we're talking about with the whole rant that was going on, is the erasure of Native culture and pop culture and art, specifically to make it black. You see this a lot with New Orleans and soul culture, which is credited as being almost entirely Black, but the majority of what became the Creole and Soul culture was actually a lot of Native culture being spread and shared with a lot of the people that were runaway slaves or abused or stuff that were taken in by a lot of the tribes. And so it still had a lot of Native history to it, but it's credited to the getting away from slavery, all that, the Black culture growing there. But they don't talk about the fact that a lot of it came from the Native American tribes that were in that area, who took in a lot of these people who, when they were getting out of slavery, and who helped them build their new culture. It's that where it's like they cut us out of everything and all the other stages are still left in. So it gets both Black and whitewashed at the same time, culturally and historically. And it's weird. It really, really is weird, actually. But that's where I was going off on that.
Okay, there we go.
So yeah, it's like,
no, there's
Bob, you know the whole thing with how much they talk about Black culture, soul music, soul food, all that.
Mm-hmm.
Most of what became the Creole culture was some parts of Black culture being given back to the runaway slaves while they were building their new culture with the Native tribes who helped rescue them.
Yeah, they
and a lot of it was traditional Southern American Native culture.
They kind of address some of that in that documentary. Yeah. But they also say a lot of it is direct influence from Native music and Native. It's not just, musician stuff.
Okay, but we're not talking about just music here or stuff like that. And that does not actually explain why all these music types are specifically Black-washed if they're Native American. And they credit these music types to cultures and artists who didn't create them, who took them from somebody else.
Steph
because
got me a new wallet.
You'll hear everywhere people will talk about whitewashing different ethnic histories and erasing different ethnicities and people, or basically trying to accent their white side and not make them look like a minority. But there was also an amount of that to people who were Native, Asian, Hispanic and stuff, where they were both white and Black washed, depending on their skin color.
Mm-hmm.
They were made to be either white or Black instead of these in-between cultures.
Lena Horne pretty much had an entire career based on that because she was light enough to pass as white.
Look at what they're doing right now with Buffy. They're stripping her of everything Native because they're saying, well, she's not listed as Native on her birth certificate. Okay, but her birth certificate was given by the government while they were doing the forced adoptions and relocations.
They're talking Buffy St. Marie, not Buffy the Vampire Slayer, kids. Yeah.
Most of those birth certificates in that era were forged. Both her adopted family and Native family have said she is absolutely one of them and she is Native. But yet they're trying to strip her of all this because it's not officially on her birth certificate. And saying that she's a fake Indian and all this stuff, and she's not. There's no evidence of that. So it's literally damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you have Native roots, to a lot of tribes, you cannot have Native heritage listed to you, credited to you, or treated like you are Native unless your parents are a registered member of the tribe, no matter how Native you are. You have people who literally have parents who are both Native and were raised on the res, who are not allowed tribal membership because the parents wouldn't actually sign for tribal membership. That should never exist, and that's not Native. That's what the federal government requires based on different treaties. So you have a long history of us being forced relocated, having our names changed, having our cultures changed, being told we're different races than we actually are, having our ethnicities stripped, and then being told that we can't count as our own ethnicity unless we have parents that were registered to the tribes or registered to the tribes during the Trail of Tears. And so in the Native community, we're not being given our full credit to who we are and what we are. And a lot of our members are struggling to be accepted as Native, even with Native parents, because of different loopholes in the legal system. Paul LaRoche was a forced adoption, the one who leads Brule. He didn't know his Native family till the beginning of the 90s. He was told his whole childhood that he's just a dark-skinned French Canadian. No, not at all. No.
My COVID vaccination card. How long do I have to carry my papers, Commandant?
I'm going to send this one to you a sec here.
This place no longer exists. That's expired. Whoops. Damn it. Get back here. Wow.
I'm going to send you an image on Instagram only because I don't want accidentally showing the ones I showed you right before it.
Oh,
to show it.
okay. Let's see.
It's taking me just a sec to get here, but
yes, the Superman wallet is certainly.
This is Paul LaRoche, the one who was told that all the time, who's told by people he looks like a burnt version of Alice Cooper.
He's held up better than Alice. I mean,
Well, that's not the newest photo of him, but that's what I can find online easily.
I can see it though.
You can go ahead and show that. That was why I sent it there instead. So I can kind of explain this. He had no knowledge of who his family was and who his tribe was until the 90s.
I gotta call up
His family had to fight to get him tribal membership, even after they reunited. And it was only because the parents that he managed to prove DNA relation to were registered members of the tribe is the only reason he could get tribal membership, even though he's a very Native man.
What? I'm loading it now, and I also got other things going on here. I think I'm, and I don't want to see whatever. Get a list of everyone I've been dealing with here, so open this another one here. Here we go.
And so the battle on being properly credited as Native is an issue. And most of us who even are tribal members, our official certification to the tribe, our official membership, our official information only counts the part we can prove the most. Some tribes don't allow any of your Native percent to be allowed to be other tribes outside of the one. So you can literally be part Cherokee, part Sioux, part this, part that, and only be counted as the main part of the tribe you're trying to get membership with. So your percent Native you're officially declared as is not accurate. There's a lot of issues with how Natives are still handled in this. But I wanted to rant on the Moana because Disney's being Disney, and they had to prove in the middle of an actual debate on how ethnic cultures and ethnic hair and ethnic features are treated. They had to show that they're as racist and stupid and fucked up as ever. Because God forbid Disney ever do something without having their head inserted all the way up their rectal cavity.
Yeah.
So I know
Missed that one.
that I have a lot of very fucked up relations in my family. My native side's actually a pretty honorable family. Well, most of them. Generally speaking, because there's always exceptions. My mother's side, God, I have some interesting assholes in my family history. Like Benedict Arnold. I mean,
Billy the Kid's in there somewhere.
yeah, gunslingers, mass murderers, traitors. Yeah, there's a lot of those things in my mom's side of the family. Which is funny because my mom's side of the family is where I actually have noble blood too. So, don't you love the vision of what nobility versus uncivilized are in our world?
Well, again, the old thing, if you have any English ancestry at all, you've got royal blood. Not necessarily legitimate, but,
Not quite as directly as ours, although they did declare that the grandmother that was part of the royal family was killed, according to them, because she ran off with the Irish slave gardener, so they don't exactly respect her. They claimed years ago that she died, and they know that's not true. They know the person buried in her grave is not genetically related to the family.
I need to yell at wife for a moment. Hold on.
So that's a whole other battle. I know my family on my dad's side, the standing soldiers, have been deeply involved in native culture, native stuff, and protecting the land and tribal warriors and medicine men and all that for a very, very long time. I know my mom's side of the family goes back to the Mayflower. And before that, I know traits of parts of it. I know who my family is. I'm just not sure I always want to with all of them.
Hi, man.
I have a very, very odd family. It is interesting because my mom's side's very white. My dad's side, very native. And you look at my mom and her siblings, and 3 of the 5 married very native spouses.
Okay, anything left in this thing?
So it's like the family was crossing over. There wasn't ifs, ands, or buts about it there. Because I have an uncle, and I actually have 2 of my uncles married native women on that side of the family. And then mom had dad, obviously. And yeah. Technically, one of my uncles, his longtime whatever relationship that's complicated, is actually one of my dad's cousins. But they're not related. They're on the other sides of the family from each other. It's my mom's brother and his cousin, So it's like the Celtic side of the family just had a couple of different people they picked on the native side of the family,
Okay, put this behind here.
They like each other. My families get along overall. Ornery, why are you being so crazy?
Living up to his name.
Look, girl, you're nuts.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you. Okay. If anybody ever wonders if animals like me, you did see the coyote pictures I took the other day, right?
Probably.
1 second. Ornery.
There we go.
Down, girl. She's like, I don't want to. I keep climbing up you because I want attention.
Craving camera time. All right. New wallet is now appropriately stuffed. It's good. Must pull on a lot of old IDs here that we really don't need to be carrying around. Let's see. No, actually, hold on in case we get back to the food bank at some point.
Let's see here. Let's show you what I'm talking about.
Keep this.
All right, so let's hide this a sec, and then you see these here. There's a lot here. Let me explain what was going on. The coyote got a prairie dog.
Ah.
So I was taking pictures because I'm a photographer. Does that dog look happy to you?
I think he's finding that prairie dog a little chewier than he liked.
I don't know. He ate the whole thing pretty fast.
Well.
There goes the arm.
Ah.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
And there's the face as he's swallowing the last of it.
Mm.
Doggo.
Chewy.
But I'm looking for a certain one here. He gave a hell of a look every so often, just about time he'd be eating, to make sure I wasn't trying to get near him or his food. He'd look up at the car like this every so often.
Like, no, my prairie dog. Check something here.
This is why I stayed in the car and was acting on it. Not aggressive, though.
Oops. Yeah.
Not that. I got elk. This is the one that'll get you, though, because this is from the other day. Injured boy.
Hmm.
An hour before this, I took a picture of him, and his fur was perfect. He was all glossy dark. His horn was shiny and perfect. All this. He's got puncture through the side of his head. He's got damage missing part of his beard. His leg is injured. A good portion of his fur is gone, and you can actually see where a horn dragged across it. Part of his horn's broken off. Most of it's scuffed and broken. Actually, the original series is the closest to actually being anything like native culture. And Voyager literally hired a fake native. Most of the stuff was bunk and produced and claimed like it was actual native culture. So, them. Shite.
There really wasn't much in the original series aside from the Paradise Syndrome, and that was an acknowledged mashup. And then Spock even cites the tribes, you know.
Ornery, would you stop? Why do you need attention so badly?
Next
Yes,
gen,
Next Gen,
really that one story when they had that one colony made up of,
there was a couple episodes that were supposed to have tributes to native culture, but they were not well done. Insurrection was well done.
Yeah.
I
mean, they gave
there
Ned
were bits and you do have to realize there were bits and pieces of the Klingon and Vulcan cultures that did come from Roddenberry's study of different native tribes, including the Lakota. So there is that.
They gave Ned Romero a chance to come back to Star Trek because after playing the Klingon in Private Little War. So
the attitude towards these struggles, it's largely based on how things were approached and done. Most people I know in the Native communities, we don't really care if things were done by actual natives or stuff, usually as much as if they were actually done with respect to us. That's why we absolutely hate the asshole who worked on Voyager, but we like Iron Eyes Cody. He's gotten honorary memberships in multiple tribes.
Yeah. Even though he's full-blood Italian.
Yeah, Yeah, but he was actually trying to give us a voice as
Yeah.
opposed to just playing our parts. There is a difference. It's why most
Thank
people
you.
who played natives were Italian, and most of them we didn't like. We liked him because he actually did care, and he actually did try to give us credit. He did try to treat us with respect, and that's the difference. Nobody's going to be a perfect representation of anything. That's just not going to happen. You know, we just want somebody who respects our culture and wants to share it with people.
Yeah. And really, they kind of skipping over the animated series, How Sharper Than a Serpent's Tooth.
True, although it's been a long time since I've seen that. So
That was written by a native guy.
Yeah. Well, so was the remake of Lilo and Stitch, and that's problematic for a lot of
True,
reasons.
yeah.
So was the freaking so-called Native American version of Captain America, and that was problematic
That
in a ton of
was,
ways
oh
too.
my God.
So it's like, and let's be honest,
None of this is,
the Indian in the Village people is also Native, and he still wore a headdress, knowing you're not supposed to wear them unless you were actually given them and honored them. So let's talk about the fact that being Native does not mean that you're actually treating our culture with respect.
Yeah. Mel Brooks had more call to wear a headdress and blazing saddles than
That's a little bit it's a lot less egregious to have somebody who doesn't know what they are or who's acting a part wear them than somebody who's performing in it, who is Native and knows you're not supposed to wear it. It's like going on stage wearing a military uniform and medals of honor you never earned.
unless you're playing a part of a guy who won those, And there are ways around it to make it,
Well, when I said going on stage, I'm not talking about acting. I'm talking about specifically on stage as a musician.
Okay.
So it's like, which one? Because some of these people who are Mexican last names are mixed and are also Native. So that doesn't always mean everything. It's just like they always talk about the guy who played Chakotay was Hispanic. It's like, no, he was both.
Robert Beltran. That's
Beltran is both. He is Native and he's Hispanic. And I have Hispanic roots in my family too, so it's twisted.
Mexican is mixed. Okay, there.
Yeah, the Mexican, literally, the race exists as a mix of Spanish conquistadors and the tribes are already there. So if somebody is Mexican, they have at least some Native blood.
Yeah,
that's how the dark skin of the Mexicans came about.
I mean, Ricardo Montalban was probably mostly Spanish because he was about high class, things so that But that's about it.
However, the fact that Mexican is mixed does not negate their history of violent conquest against natives, does not erase the fact that Mexico trying to claim the West was no different than the other Europeans trying to claim the middle of the country. This whole thing about the West was Mexico's, the West is Europe's. And no. What you're talking about would be the equivalent of somebody breaking into a home and tying up the homeowner. And then as they're robbing the place, somebody else breaks in and they start fighting over who gets it. Ain't neither of you the originals to where you're fighting over. So,
Let's liken the Spaniards to the Cardassians and Mexico to Bajor. That's about it. The Spaniards came in, they were after one thing, gold.
Golden
and the natives
women.
were in the way.
No, golden women. They wanted extras.
Golden, yeah, women too, but mainly the gold.
And let's look at DS9 because the
Then
whole
get women
was a part of what the Cardassians wanted too.
Yeah. But
and again, this goes back to the whole fetishization of things that are different, the desire for the exotic and stuff like that. That still
you have no respect for our conversation going on.
Deal with your wife. I can rant fine.
Okay. Given that last little tidbit, better mute the mic. Okay. And if Burnett shows up, let him in.
So this whole convoluted thing back and forth and all that, and it's not one way or the other, one perfect solution or the other, but it all comes back to mixing and conquering and all that. We do love her, but God, that woman doesn't know when to yell. It's fun. It's fun. Mm. So we do what we have to. We do what we can. But there's a balance. There's a point to it and all that stuff. So we have to figure it out. Now, I'm doing projects, so projects. Husbands. And yes, I'm mixing it. I'm not doing just straight songs. I'm weird. I know I'm weird. But so the core of it is cultural balance and differences, and part of why I love Star Trek is because Roddenberry studied all these different cultures. He went to all these different cultures. He visited places around the world. He studied different religions. He spent time on reservations. And for all his plagiarism and other issues aside, one thing Roddenberry was good at doing was giving a voice to people who were more disenfranchised, who had less of a voice, and representing parts of their culture and the stuff he created.
And remember, he also had a career before Star Trek.
Yeah, his career before Star Trek and the fact that he worked so much in old westerns is part of why he spent time on the reservations and studied the tribes and stuff like that, and part of why he threw things in to honor the natives and stuff in Star Trek cultures.
23 episodes of Have Gun Will Travel, more than anybody else did. He later claimed to have been head writer. They didn't have a head writer. Okay. He would have been if they had, but he wasn't the head writer. He just did more than anybody else.
Yeah, but would it be Roddenberry if he didn't try to take credit for more than
Oh,
he
I
did?
know. Yeah, you gotta try and puff the resume up. Yeah.
Like I said,
and then let him run with it.
I find my personal viewpoints and my personal history with Roddenberry very complicated because I both really love and really hate things he did.
Mm-hmm.
But I can still respect that he made a difference in my life and my culture for the way he did things.
Yeah.
I still look and go, what the hell was wrong with you? Why would you do this?
There's one thing I want to run by Doug Drexler at some point, because the opening scene of the first full episode of Star Trek Continues is Drexler there, dressed up as Paladin, pointing his gun right at Kirk in the early holodeck test, or the next step up, because I already had it in the animated series, but no. And he's doing the line. I want you to look at this gun. It's from the first episode of Have Gun Will Travel, where he's going through the specs of his gun. But Doug Drexler sounds nothing like Richard Boone. So the editor part of me wants to take the dialogue from the episode and layer it in. That's would you be offended, Doug, if I did this? I don't think he would be, but I'd like to run it by him first to make it clear.
We need to get him back on here again.
Yeah, it could be fun.
Now that your internet's not as crappy as it used to be.
Yeah, it seems to have leveled out. And I don't think I'm on the same computer, too. I think I was on the other computer. I mean, it's still got moments, but, they're generally not quite so catastrophic.
So we've got to figure out what to do with this, because we have to be able to stream to both channels.
Well,
I cannot afford to do these streams with you and not get it to my channel. I'm not getting enough work right now anyways.
I know. Well, a lot's going to depend on if I can get this raise. They've cut off the voucher payments. So, okay, fine. So I'm looking, this is probably in the long run better, because now we don't have to report our income to these people. Don't have to hit the higher standards of housekeeping and everything else crap. And the rent is no longer a moving target. Okay, that's the rent. Okay, so we'll work around that, and I can seek outside work without worrying about them jacking the rent up any further. That was paralyzing right there. Well, look, I can't get any more hours because you'll just move the rent up even more. But now it's like, okay. So we're looking at seeing if I can just get a substantial raise on what I'm currently doing. I also put in an app with Colorado Public Radio as an audio technician. See if we can get that going.
I do hope things get going better.
Yeah. And if we can just keep the tap dance going long enough until July when I can put in for my Social Security, that'll be about, as it currently stands, about $900 extra.
Just face it, you're old.
Old and broke. That's But if we can actually, because I figured, actually about $30 an hour, then we could do it. It's smooth sailing from that point on. What? Yeah, she's worried about a complication about getting cut off because of the income, but the income is part of the benefit. It's like it's coming from the Medicaid thing, so I don't think one is part of the other. So
just be careful because the government likes to see how much they can screw you in.
Yeah, I know. It's like then
I don't have a problem with having some social nets where we can, because it's hard to do things, and more of the so-called charitable people are not being charitable and not helping people anymore.
Yeah.
However, there are other issues, and
a
lot of these systems are designed to keep you needing them.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to save any money in the bank if you're on programs, but how are you supposed to be able to get a car, survive, get work, do other stuff? If you're not allowed to save in the bank for a few months, so you can pay for those things.
Yeah, that's where we're stuck at there. Yeah.
You're not allowed to save yourself emergency funds for medical, but if you cost too much in medical, they start cutting you off and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And if you're trying to get people a hand up, then they need to be able to save some of the money for emergency funds, to get a car, to get things they need to get on their feet again.
And stop slapping people back down when they start pulling ahead a little bit. Because for a few months there, before they did the reevaluation, it was pretty good. I could pay the rent on one check, or seriously look at possibly getting another car. Then they do a reeval, and then I can't do this because they base it on the gross. Nobody gets paid the gross. That's an imaginary number as far as I'm concerned.
Definitely. And here's one thing I will disagree with one side on. Minimum wage should not be this low.
No. Well,
it never should have been. Inflation never should have been removed from the gold standard, and B, minimum wage should never have been removed from inflation. I'm not saying people doing really crappy jobs that they're not putting in effort deserve to be making the same kind of money as these higher end jobs. What I'm saying is the fact that people can work multiple jobs that are technically above minimum wage and still not be able to pay even the basics of survival in a city is ridiculous. And to the people going, well, why are you pointing out that there's so few people working minimum wage? It's mincing words. It's like, no. The fact that all these jobs pay above minimum wage and these people still can't survive is actually on your argument, because it shows how bad the wage and inflation are to each other now.
Big thing is the minimum wage is really a union thing, because they base what their demands for their union members on what the minimum wage is. So it's a sick little incestuous little intertwined thing. And really, a strip oil thing, minimum wage at this point should be, I think it should be graduated under 18 or under 21, say, if you're just starting out. It should be a certain level. You're still at home. You don't have bills. You're just entering the workforce.
That's the people who are really trying to. No, because the worst people who are getting stuck with minimum wage are the people who, like, their parents abandoned them, are orphans, teenagers who are taking care of their siblings and shit like that. Those are the ones who are getting hit the worst by minimum wage anyways.
Yeah.
Nothing. Or college kids whose parents can't help them pay for college, shit like that. So, no, actually, I disagree with that.
We'll put some provisions to allow for that sort of thing. But in general, I'm just talking very broad generalities here. If you're some 16-year-old getting your first job at McDonald's, no, you don't earn $30 an hour flipping slacking fries and flipping burgers.
I don't believe your age.
It's all automated anyway these days. I'd go into the.
I don't believe your age should have anything to do with your income. The only thing that should have anything to do with your income is your experience at that job, your seniority at that job, and how hard you work at that job. You shouldn't be able to be paid less based on anything except for your actual performance at the job.
But if you're going to mandate things, you got to draw a line somewhere. So, and age is a handy one. I mean, beyond that, yeah, everything kicks in. How good are you at? And then do the raises accordingly.
Speaking of somebody who came out of the extreme poverty, age is a really bad one.
Yeah. Then again, I'm
because
talking
a lot of these kids.
I'm talking very general. I'm talking very general suburban kid.
Yeah, but the thing
just
is,
trying to find something besides the paper route. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not what's happening with most of these jobs anymore. Yeah. Most of those kids who have income in their family aren't working anymore. Most of the kids working now are the ones who actually need to.
Well, also now the driving them wage up is like that's why we now have kiosks at McDonald's to put your order.
Yes and no. The reason I say yes and no is for a reason here. A lot of the reason it's happening is because we got decentralized. We got destabilized. So they didn't go up evenly. And so you have people wanting to double it in a year. That's not going to work.
Yeah.
And these businesses are putting these in whether people raise the minimum wages or not.
Yeah.
Also, minimum wage should not be national. It should be set to state and city.
Yeah.
Based on that area's costs for food and living and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Somebody making minimum wage in New York should be being paid higher than somebody making minimum wage in Iowa.
Yeah.
The cost of living is not the same.
No. New York is in for a very rude awakening.
The reason they won't do that is because that would also chase a lot of businesses out of these big cities that are expensive. And
has. In-N-Out Burger is leaving California.
I'm saying directly, if they set minimum wage purely to localized, a lot of these businesses would leave a lot of these places that are really corrupt. It would actually be a good way to break that system. So it's like, we've got to do something.
Another bright idea to jack up minimum wage, $20 an hour for income. Bye. In-N-Out is a California institution, and they are leaving California. Okay.
Again, it would be one thing if they said, look, California is extremely expensive to live in. We can't have people surviving on this, especially with how many of these jobs are now being worked by kids who are trying to basically keep their family afloat or keep their home or stuff like that. However, we can't raise it in a year like this either. We need to centralize it again, stage it up over several years, and cut back taxes and other things so the businesses can pay it better while we do it. There's a way to do it so you can raise the minimum without screwing the businesses. But that would involve both sides giving on a lot of the bullshit arguments and actually working together.
And nobody's in a conciliatory mood these days. So.
No, they're not.
No.
So this is where people ask me, what's your hope for things? It's like, I don't see hope for things. Because I don't think either side's ever going to pull their heads out of their asses and listen to the other side.
Yeah.
I have very little faith in humanity. I think humans suck. I am a nihilistic bitch. That's my hope for humanity.
Our problem right now is on the right, it's a lot of callous, inept thing, but on the left, you got full goose bozo crazies running things now. Like one chance, like the parasite has become the host. Okay, that's why I said New York is in for a very rude awakening here. Because they've just you've actually looked at a communist.
We're not left or right anymore. We're progressive right, progressive left. In other words, big government for this side or big government for this side, and both in different ways, but they both want more power to the government they support. I don't want more power to any of them. I want them all to go off under a rock and disappear. I mean, which is why I'm not popular with either side anymore.
Yeah, well, I do want to get a rant in about the proposed ballroom. It's people ran about so big deal. This is okay. One, the West Wing was only added to add symmetry because of they added the East Wing. So nothing much was there to begin with. It's not some time honored thing. It was built during FDR. it was like it had the entryway for the White House tours, the First Lady's office, and I think the calligraphy place, and a couple other houses, which could be anywhere.
Two things can be true. They
Yeah.
can be blowing it out of proportion and saying things historically that are untrue. And it can be extremely tone deaf to be building a big fancy place while you're cutting food to people who are starving.
As far as the fun, it's privately funded. A lot of it is Trump's paying for it out of his own pocket. He offered to build the thing for Obama back in the day, but because frankly, we're doing state dinners in a tent.
It's not about that. It is tone deaf that he's putting more concern to using his money to build up that class than caring about the people that are being cut, who need help the most, the veterans, the disabled and stuff.
Yeah.
Because if it's so bad that you have to cut resources to those people, then why is your money going to build up your own ego and your own glory more, instead of donating to the people you claim to support and care about? That's the hypocrisy.
Well, I don't know, because they've been trying to get Teddy Roosevelt was trying to get the ballroom built back 150 years ago. The plans go back 150 years.
That's not the point. This is where both sides have it completely wrong. It's not the point. It's the hypocrisy of it. And it's the tone deaf. A ballroom is not worth more than human life. Period. If we've been without it for 150 years, we can be without it for another few.
We shouldn't have been, because we look like a bunch of yokels trying to do state dinners in a tent on the South Lawn.
Since when has this country not been a bunch of yokels?
I know, but it's like they're trying to add some prestige. And again, the reason why it costs like $300 million, because the security going to this thing is
Who cares about prestige when the country's literally going under and there's all the civil unrest? This is where people are pissed on the center, and honestly, depending on the people on both sides. We don't care. Stop with the prestige. Stop with the buildings. Stop with all this fancy shit and fix what's broken first. This is why I hate both sides so much. Fix what's broken. Stop caring about your ego. No, he does not. That is not true. And I'm not going to read that one in chat. He does not donate to all these groups. In fact, he's very anti-native in his donations. And there are a lot of people who are.
He does donate his check. He doesn't take a salary.
But that's a whole different
where he sends it. I don't know.
Because I said specifically to the veterans and disabled and natives who are being screwed. No, that's not where it's going. He's got a very good track record of being extremely anti-native and making fun of disabled veterans. So let's not say that that's where that money's going. There's no proof of that. This is where both sides can be wrong on everything. I don't like either side.
Well, I don't know about the disabled veteran. Big individuals that piss him off, but but not. He's actually done pretty good to veterans.
No, you can't say that it's just individuals when he makes cracks about veterans going, I like winners, not prisoners of war. And he did say that. I hate both sides so much. And I don't care.
Steph is wondering about your attitude on teddy bears.
Okay, that's.
I don't know where it's coming from, but yeah.
What? I like stuffed animals. Why?
I don't know. Why?
That bear I showed you. What I'm trying to figure out how to send her without having to send it to me first.
Which bear would that be?
The Tourette's bear.
Oh, she got a Tourette's teddy bear. I don't know what the fuck. What? I assume have it sent to a P.O. box. Okay.
The thing is, it does when I try to, put in the address information. It doesn't give me an option to put in the shipping address. Oh, that's all you got? Because I don't have mail at my house at all.
Yeah, if she gets this bear, it's going to come straight here. There's no option for tending to a different address.
I've specifically blocked mail at my house for many reasons,
Mm-hmm.
including the fact that the post office refuses to have him get out of his car and take it to the house, and he wants to deliver it in the mailbox on the street on a busy road to disabled people.
Mm-hmm.
And my mailbox got hit by drivers. How many times did our mailbox get hit in that couple-year period?
Yeah.
5. 5 times in a few years.
I think basically you'd have to come down here to get this bear.
My mailing address is a federally recognized address. There should be no reason you can't add that anywhere.
Yeah.
I order things to it and through it all the time. And in fact, it can receive things that P.O. boxes can't. So I have no idea why she's having any trouble with that.
I don't know. Just DM her. This is not the forum to discuss this crap, okay? God.
But your wife is trying to drive you nuts.
And succeeding.
I hate both sides. I hate both sides. Yippee! I hate them. I mean, sorry. Yay, me, right? Also, look what I just built. They're paint with stickers. All the tiny little sections are stickers.
All right.
I'm going to take all of the paint by sticker stuff I'm doing, and I'm going to paint details in with acrylic and stuff and actually make them customized. Hey, Iron. I'm trying to work on my temper. I try. I always hear everybody on both sides. I try to listen to people on both sides. I have some people that I listen to who are more left. I also do watch videos and listen to and follow and check stuff from Buck and Blair and Brett and them, because I want more sides and more arguments, because I think that that's the way we actually learn something about each other. I think that's the best way to be as a person.
It's kind of, Buck's following me on X now. So.
Yeah, well, that site's dead and buried to me. And he could choke on it for ruining it, because that was where I had a lot of my support. So my mom wants the Blue Jay out of these sticker arts, which is the one that has almost 250 pieces to build.
Right.
Look at these micro stickers.
Yikes.
So my mom had to want the one that has the most pieces. So to those out there who have been dealing with me a long time, there's plenty of times I will disagree with folks, but I also try to hear all sides, and I also try to research anything that's said.
Yeah.
We may not always agree, but you at least know that I don't just say things and repeat things or believe them. Hell, I actually kind of like disagreeing with you. I mean,
no, the newest thing going about Blair, she's announced her, she's a Christian, but it's like, you just need to detransit. Let her follow her
I'm
path.
more worried with some of the shit Blair says is very anti-Christian in attitude. She says a lot of stuff where she blames people for medical issues and weight and other stuff, or calls people slurs. That's my issue with her.
Yeah.
I still follow and see and watch and see if I agree, but I have problems with the way Blair acts to people.
Well, I'll give her room to follow her, give her, to think about what she's done or whatever. But whether she wants to detransition, that's up to her. Because I think that's a point where it's kind of past the point of no return.
I'm not going to push the whole detransition and all that. That's I think that's like people who go, well, you're Christian, now you need to remove every tattoo you got when you weren't Christian.
No.
Okay, let's not try to make people try to literally re-alter their bodies, because that's still altering the temple. If you're pushing that viewpoint, you know what I mean? It's like you can't work it that way. But if Blair is saying Christian now, I want to see it reflect in the more recent videos and lose some of that negative attitude towards people who have struggles or are poor that I have seen in some of the videos. I'm not going to say it's not possible. I'm not going to say that I think Blair is a bad person. I've never said that.
No.
I just think Blair's got some biases that aren't good.
Yeah. Hold on. I got to go help the wife back and do better.
Which I also say of a lot of my friends, too. We all have our biases we have to work on. Okay. I know Buck Angel has kids, but and is really fighting against the transitioning kids. But there's that one. And we're going to tell people we should all listen a little more when it comes to things that aren't our personal expertise, because there's so much going on that most of us don't know about in this world. So much. I'm frustrated. I am so frustrated. Whistle, 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 tick. Whistle, 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 tick. That's an interesting thing to be looking for at the same time. I mean, I'm not going to say anything. I've got much worse combinations that I'm doing when I'm shopping, especially online. There's some fun things that I'm going to be starting soon. I have got my Christmas events, which are art project boxes. So this one, each day is a different wooden nutcracker to paint. And then these ones are diamond art, and each day is a different one to make, and one's Grinch stuff and one's gnomes. So my daily projects through December. I'm so looking forward to these. Also got a current diamond art I am working on. But I have to be in a certain state of my tickiness to be able to work on them. See? My owl. Just under half done. The diamond arts take a lot longer than the sticker art. Oh, iron, that sounds sweet and fun. I'm going to be making a bunch of little prayer jars and art pieces and stuff with my mom to give out. And I've made several flats full of the CBD muscle rubs for the family for Christmas already, too.
There we go.
I've got all kinds of projects going. I've been making CBD muscle rubs to give out to the family for Christmas.
Let me throw a link at Shlomo here. Available.
You can at least come say hi to me before I have to run off and do my Tuesday night stuff. Come on, Rob. I haven't talked to you in forever. Yeah, Walmart doesn't carry most of the stuff I do. For standard stuff, it works, but for most of my crafts, they don't carry them.
What I'm hoping this doesn't come, Burnett doesn't come on and you stop bugging me.
What I will say I know for my issues is that it's interesting with these sticker ones because you can't keep redoing them and refixing them over and over and over. Like I do with most of my art projects, like I do with my diamond arts, where I'll take the diamond off like 10 times to get it perfect. I can't do that with the stickers. Once they're down, they're down. So I can't be OCD with them. If I have any shift, any shimmy, any tick while I'm putting it down, that's it. That's how it is.
Yeah.
And it's fighting my OCD, and it's I think in some ways actually good for me because of that. Because if you look at them up close, you can see there's flaws.
Redirecting them a bit, yeah.
Because you can't change it once it's down, and you can only tweak so many times while you're trying to put it down. So there's flaws. I don't usually let my artwork have flaws.
Yeah.
I'll remake things like 50 times till they're perfect. So
that's something of why Frank Frazetta's museum, while Frank was still alive, he was not allowed to have a key. The boy that he would just go and take stuff off the wall, take it back to the studio and work. No.
I know it's not healthy. I know it's a thing where artistic minds have a much higher rate of OCD than non-artistic minds. But God, am I bad with it. And I will get so OCD. I'll remake the same piece of jewelry like 10 times because I don't like how the crimp at the end or one little piece came out or stuff like that. And it's like, I'm a difficult pain in the ass. I was going to just face the reality. I am a difficult pain in the ass. By the way, for anybody who wants a nice, healthy way to make a low-fat pizza you can eat, what you do is you get low-fat shredded cheese, chop up like the lean-cut lunch meats and stuff like that. For the sauce, you use like the Daisy sour cream ranch, which is really basic dairy. And you skillet cook it on an extra thin or the zero-carb tortillas.
So it's kind of flatbread Alfredo pizza.
Similar, but it actually has a very good pizza-like flavor and crisp if you do it right. And I've gotten to the point I can make one of those in like 10 minutes. So it's like, and there's very little calories and very little fat and very little anything in it. It's my splurge because on occasion I want pizza and I can't eat pizza. I don't want to act anorexic anymore. I want to actually eat enough to function.
I should check our tortillas, see if they're doing a science experiment here.
I know most of the groceries anymore have net zero carb tortillas. Or there's ultra thin ones that are made with like spinach and tomato and stuff that are a lot more healthy. Honey, chocolate.
Stat.
I'm feeling pain and I'm on hormone stuff.
Do not fuck with me.
Give me the chocolate. Put it in my hand and nobody gets hurt.
Yeah.
Good boy.
They're breaking out the ratchet for chocolate now.
Where does this damn sticker go? I need to get into the chocolate. I hate trying to find the spots for these sometimes.
Now, by the time we're finally ready to actually start doing that karaoke idea, we'll have to go ahead and bite the bullet and get back on the paid plan. Because we're going to need all the bells and whistles.
Go ahead and have it. No, Steve found something he really likes. It's Russell Stover's version of the Dubai chocolates, which is like you took the pistachio cream and blended it into their peanut butter and coated it in chocolate.
Okay.
And he really likes it. He's holding one up like, I'm going to eat this now. Shit, son of a rat bastard. Ignore that. That's just the random swearing from the girl who's eating and dropping things. These, however, are handcrafted from a local shop.
Ooh.
They are sugar-free almond butter toffee with shreds of almond on them. It's basically like a really high-quality butter toffee version of almond roca without sugar. And they're from a local shop here in the hills.
What? All right.
So now that we've streamed almost 3 hours and I've got chocolate to keep my temper down. And it's such a well-made toffee. Look at that.
I don't think anybody's coming on this one.
Anybody who comes to the Black Hills, I'm telling you, visit the candy shop in the middle of downtown Custer. Chocolatier work they do there is so amazing. This is my only real weakness with my diet is chocolate because it helps my cramps and my hormone issues. But I tried to get really healthy sugar-free versions that aren't high fat. On the occasion I eat some, I'm not going to try to make myself 500 pounds.
I'm gonna feel it's gonna if Rob either Slum or Burnett show up, it's gonna be like in restaurant at the end of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy at the restaurant at the end of the universe. Because there's a holdout of people waiting for their great prophet what's his face to show up before the end of the world. Well, you got 10 minutes here, so hold on. And the guy shows up like 2 seconds before. Oh gosh, sorry I'm late. What I missed?
Or we could find out what this video from Carr is. It says he roasts a mom for bringing her teenage daughter to his show.
Oh boy.
Because I think 3 hours is good. Let's watch some crazy shit backstage.
Yeah, I think so. We'll just pull it up there. So we will talk at you later, kids.
Mm-hmm.